I got coaxed into it. I kind of felt like it was a good day to do it, so we're here.
What are the plans for tonight? You got to do something, right? Like go out there and then not get some run support out in downtown or something like that,
It'll probably involve eating a lot of cake. I'm pretty good at that.
Nice. Good stuff. Good. Well, happy birthday, man. But I appreciate it. It is kind of stunning to think about some of you guys and how quote unquote not old you are. Like Buster is 37 years old. And so right. You talk about his willingness to accept this challenge. I'd love to hear more about what you think this challenge is. How different is this than what he was in his previous job?
Well, I think he was able to go out and physically show people what he was able to do, and in a way it's kind of easy to lead people that way. Now he's going to have to be kind of leading off of his eye and putting talent together in different places and not be as physically involved into it. So I think that's going to be a different challenge for him, is to be able to be moving people around and putting people into place and having the trust of that, because it's a little bit different when you're not going out there and hitting 310 and throwing guys out at second. He's going to have to. It takes a little bit more faith and I think trust from the people around you. So I think he's already gained that trust by being able to obtain that position. So I think it'd be interesting and really fun for him to be able to deep dive into that other talent that he has.
Did you see this from him when you guys were playing together 15 years ago or so? Did you see that maybe, I don't know if he'd be a manager or he'd be in baseball, let alone being a president of baseball ops?
I mean, we always thought of like him being, a manager for sure, but did I see, no. Did I see him in the front office like this? No, I didn't. But, the more that I got to know Buster and the more that I started to understand kind of the way that his mind works and how great he is with mathematics and just how methodical and how calculated he is, it doesn't surprise me now.
Matt, it's interesting that you say manager in his future for sure. And I know that this new job is only 2 days old, and I'm sure he wants to jump in with both feet. But do you still feel that way, that maybe someday he'd manage?
I wouldn't put it past him. I really wouldn't put it past him. I guess we'll kind of just see how it all plays out. I don't know. Is this usually a normal route that you go, is to go from, president of baseball operations to managing? I feel like it'd be kind of the other way around, but you never know.
Yeah, it seems a little bit abnormal, but like you said, Buster being Buster, you never know what he might be able to do. And you look at this team and where they sit now, and another year where they were just slightly sub 500 and not really doing what you guys did 10 years ago. Where do you see this team as their needs for improvement going into next season?
That's where actually I probably don't have I haven't paid enough attention to really figure it out, but I think hopefully they are able to get pieces that they can put on the field, that are healthy, and that's just kind of the luck of the draw sometimes. And sadly, they had pieces that looked really, really good at the beginning of the year, and they just have injuries that don't work out well. So I think you have to have a little bit of luck that goes along with it. From pieces that you do put together, and then you've got to have those wild cards that come up in the minor leagues that do surprise you.
Matt Cain joining us here on Willard and Dibbs 95.7 The Game. Matt, what is your perspective on what I think is somewhat central to everything that we're talking about, which is, sure, analytics, as Buster even said today, are not going anywhere, but has baseball kind of swung too far in that direction, and does it need to come back to the center a little bit more in your mind?
You're probably going to get a bad answer, or maybe I'm more of an old school person. So I would like to see it come back. But I think that's where I think Buster's a great person that's in the middle, because I think his brain and his heart kind of goes in both directions. And maybe I'm just a little jaded because I'm a little jealous that I didn't get some of that information when I was playing towards the end of my career, because I think it would have been very beneficial. But I think we can go both ways. I I think it has swung a little too far, so it would be nice to kind of bring it back. Now, can I say exactly what needs to come back? No, I don't know, but I think it should. I think we do have to kind of come back some.
Well, I mean, you say you would have loved to have some of the information. I also think of you as a guy like you. You got to be sick to your stomach when you see everybody leaving in the 5th inning.
It's challenging. It's very challenging to see that. Yes, because that was definitely not the role as starters is what we were taught to play the game. We were told that, hey, we were supposed to try to carry as much load as you could and throughout the season, and then have those guys saved up for the playoffs.
June 13th, 2012. It was my son's 11th birthday, and I'll never forget it because I was watching the game with my son, and you had Buster Posey in the squat on that day. What sort of guidance and help and memories do you have from your perfect game with Buster Posey, now president of baseball operations, that day when you were having your most special day?
Well, that was what was. We kind of get back on the question that you guys asked me, like what he's able and capable of doing now in his position. And that night I was in a great physical state, and I trusted him completely on every pitch that we called that night, and I went with it and didn't shake him off once. And it turned out to be a wonderful night. I mean, that didn't always happen. We had to have a lot of things mesh out together, and we had Blanco's play. We had the wind help the ball that Snyder hit in left field not go over the fence. So I think that's where I think it'll be really cool to see Buster sit down and really work his magic with another group of talented people around him, try to see what they can pull out.
Well, Matt, you're talking about on the field. I wonder, let's take an even broader view of his leadership qualities and what you drew from that in the clubhouse and how you think that might translate to the new gig.
I think he's tremendous at it. I think he's got a great way of being able to speak the truth to guys, but he's also got an ability to earn guys and girls' trust, to be able to be approachable. And he listens to people. He wants to hear what's going on, and he wants to try to figure out how he can make it all work. And so I think that's where Buster does a tremendous job. And we see them. I see that with him doing that all the time. With his wife and his kids, and he's a guy that really cares about the people around him, and he wants to find ways to lead, whether it's through being able to vocally say something or going out there and doing physically.
What other teammates that you guys played with do you think might be somebody he tabs to come in and join this new regime? Because it feels to me like Buster's going to turn back the clock a little bit, not turning totally away from analytics, but a little bit more of an old school approach. Is there anyone else that you guys played with that makes you think that they might be a fit for this new regime?
I could see Lopez being a great fit and Vogelsong being a great fit. There's probably so many guys. I mean, George is another great guy. I think he does a good job of being able to see both sides on the analytics and the physical side. We could probably go down a huge list with a lot of the guys that we've played with. So I think, but those are the handful of guys that I can think of right now.
Not a Matt Cain, perhaps? Cain?
I don't think that's. Not right now. No, not that I can think of.
Well, Ryan Vogelsong will join us in an hour and a half, so we'll ask him. We'll ask him if he wants a gig. But
he'll throw me under the bus like I threw him under the bus.
Perfect. Matt, what about this? You might be the last guy that would expect this question, but one thing that was thrown out in a conversation we're even having with Dave Fleming yesterday is the idea of this ballpark and how it might have become a detractor in trying to sign offensive free agents. Now, you're a guy who probably benefited from this, but what are your thoughts on the ballpark as a hitter's park and how that might be, in a way, getting in the way of the Giants' pursuits right now?
Yeah, and that's where the last handful of years have the field's changed a lot. I guess we finally saw a splash hit to right field by a right-hander this year, which is kind of crazy. I didn't think about it, but that's a long ways to hit it to right field. But I don't think it's. I think it's not as bad as it used to be. Definitely watching games, I see balls, kind of going a lot farther than I had expected. But it's always a little bit challenging. I mean, the wind and everything they're building around there changes the way that the ball carries there. So it's hard to say, and I don't have the numbers in front of me to be able to say is it as much of a pitcher's park as it used to be. I mean, I don't see it as much of as a pitcher's park as it used to be. So I think you can hit there, and we have had guys that can hit there and be successful.
I see a guy who had 7 home runs in his career, and 5 of them came at that park. So, I mean, what's the big deal, Matt? You seem to be able to slug at home better than you were on the road.
Right. I mean, Bumgarner did too. And, one of those homers that I hit was in Colorado. So, that doesn't really count either, right? Yeah, no, it's one of those things that it can play with your head. So if you let it, you let it. And if you don't, then you guys hit. I mean, Buster was extremely successful his entire career there.
Matt, it's wonderful to have you. And now we would like to let you go do your birthday.
I appreciate it. Y'all have fun.
All right, you too. Matt Cain on his 40th birthday.
Man.
Joining us on 95.7 The Game.
He's a great guy.
Yeah.
And I told the story earlier about him joining us the day after his perfect game, which, you throw a perfect game. If I ever threw a perfect game, you can go ahead and forget about me for about 10 days.
Forever.
Your boy's I'm going everywhere and at all times. And yet the next day, called in on the morning show. By the way, I was doing mornings with Whitey and Crides, and it's about 9:30, so later in the morning. But Matt Cain's going to join us. Awesome dude.
Yeah, he's a great dude, although I'm really bummed to hear that he likes cake so much. If he thinks he's getting a cake later today, he's not, because one thing I know is Matt Cain gets no support.
That's
That's
solid.
that's
an easy for.
Ridiculous that he thinks someone's going to cook for him. That's not that. If he wants a cake, he can go to the store and buy one. I would imagine that's what his family's telling him tonight.
No doubt. And I just wanted to punch up his hitting numbers because I remember him as a good hitter, not quite Bumgarner levels, but he did have 7 home runs, 5 of them at that impossible to hit at ballpark.
Yep.
Remember pitchers hitting?
No.
Barely, right? Kaner had 7 home runs.
Yeah, it feels like it's one of those things. It's almost like naming your baby. You know what I mean? Like whenever, what's the name going to be? And then people judge it. They're like, and then by the time when they're 3 years old, you could never imagine naming them anything else.
Yeah.
And you can't even remember that process of like figuring that out. That's how pitchers hitting feels. Yeah. I don't even remember it. I do, but it feels like it's been gone forever. How many years has it been?
I would say 4 years.
Like it feels like 15. Right. It feels like 15. And no, I don't miss it.
Yeah. Well, I don't miss it either, except when something like this happens, when like Bumgarner was a fun at-bat, and Matt Cain with, 7 home runs, he was at least a threat. Too many pitchers were not a threat, and that's why ultimately it was good that it was gone.
Yeah, absolutely.
And there's a trivia question out there, and I don't know the answer to it, of who was the last pitcher to hit a home run.
Oh, overall or Giants?
No, overall.
Okay, because I think...
And Giants, yeah.
Was it Logan Webb?
Might have been.
Say Logan Webb got a hold of one, or maybe he tripled. Logan tripled or something, which was crazy.
Well, it's to the point of the conversation, which is it feels like it's been so long since pitchers hit. It feels more than 4 years.
Remember when Johnny Cueto used to hit? Remember that? Remember when he used to just go stand in the batter's box and just be like, yeah, whatever. Are you going to walk me? No? You're going to throw 3 strikes? All right, fine. I'll go sit down again.
I think it's been 3 years, actually. 2022.
That's it?
Yep.
That's it?
Yeah.
That's ridiculous.
MLB's, yeah. Go ahead,
do you guys remember Barry Zito getting a big hit in St. Louis in that do-or-die game in the 2012 NLCS?
Like, in a very vague way. What did he do?
I think he slapped it down the line the opposite way.
Oh, you're right. He did. Yeah.
He pitched a gem, and he also gave himself some run support.
Oh, my gosh. Like, 3 times a year, it would give you this, like, really fun, sort of memorable, laughing memory. 3 times a year.
Yep.
159 times a year, you'd be like, what the hell is this guy doing with a bat? What are we doing? I mean, the number of pitchers who could really hit the ball well, like through my entire lifetime, 49 years of watching Giants baseball, there's probably like 5 guys. I don't mean the burger, but like 5 guys. Remember Don Robinson?
He was good.
Don could hit. Don could hit. Mad Bum, obviously, first name that comes to mind.
Logan Webb. Yeah, first career home run in the final game of the regular season in 2021.
We're presented by Fremont Bank, celebrating 60 years of full-service banking with no compromises. All right, we're going to take your phone calls, any Buster reaction, let you hear more of the press conference coming up next, but also, first order of business, I really think Buster needs to do this, and we'll tell you exactly what that is coming up next on Willard and Dibs.
I can't wait for golf this weekend, huh, buddy? Time flies. Love you, man. Oh, don't forget your knee brace again. We aren't in college anymore.
Moments together matter, so help protect yourself from RSV. If you're 75 or older or 60 plus with a chronic condition like asthma, COPD, heart disease, or severe diabetes, you're at higher risk of landing in the hospital from RSV, and there are no...
Now, back to
Will and Dibby
on 95.7 The Game.
We were talking about hitting pitchers who hit, not hitting the pitcher, but pitchers who hit. A couple of fun things that just came through on the Comcast business text line.
Okay.
415 says Bartolo Colon was pure comedy. That's true. And then 408 just writes one word, Gossman. Do you remember when Kevin Gossman had to pinch hit in the late innings of a game and got a sac fly that actually only went barely to medium deep right field, and Brandon Crawford had to barely slide by a tag for a walk-off?
Count it.
In Gossman's last year as a Giant? Yeah, I remember those moments too. But again, they happened about 3 times a year.
Yeah.
And outside of that, I don't miss it. I don't miss it, and I don't know anybody who misses it.
Yeah, I don't miss it. I thought I would miss it just because I'm from the old school where 9 in the field, 9 at the plate, but now you get, enough teams have enough bad hitters already to where I don't need an additional bad hitter in that lineup. The Giants are a pretty decent example where you get down to 7, 8, 9, and usually it's, okay, Wisely, maybe, Schmidt, probably not, and whoever else would be following down toward the order.
Well, that's what they need to switch up. That's what they need to switch up.
I just looked up that Gossman sac fly really quick. So September 17th, 2021. First of all, very important game. You win the division by one game, and that was the final couple weeks of the regular season. You needed it. You're right, Crawford, with the headlong slide. It was 5-5 in the 11th against the Braves. The right fielder who caught the ball and made the throw home, Jock Peterson. Yeah.
And he probably, if he was in better position and was lining it up nicely, he probably would have thrown Crawford out. But Jock not that very good of an outfielder.
No, he's not. He's not. Bartolo Colon, 25 for 299 for his career.
Oh, nice.
1 home run.
1.
2016 as a 43-year-old.
Oh, God.
He went deep.
What?
Yeah. His only homer. As a 43-year-old Cologne.
And he did it at Petco, a pitcher's park, too.
Yeah, I try to stay away from 43-year-old Cologne. I believe me. It sits in the cabinet for a while.
Up in 3 weeks.
I don't know about 43
you're 49-year-old Cologne. It's going to get a little once-over. But anyway.
We're getting there.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Anyhow.
So here's what, and we're going to go to the phones in just a sec. I think Buster needs to kind of un-Farhan this team. And it's not fair. I'm not saying these guys can't be on the team next year, but I mentioned it in the crossover. I think there are 3 guys who have what I would call kind of the Farhan regime residue, and that's not fair. It's not even bad, but it's just something that I think for fans, for whatever reason, they want to shake free of this kind of a player. It's not a bad player, but it used to be sort of presented to the fans as like, the thing that Farhan does. And again, that's not bad. It just can't be your calling card. If your calling card is, hey, look, what I found in the dollar bin, it's something that's worth $3. And I only had to pay $1 for it. And that's your calling card. That's great. If you can find a $3 player in the dollar bin, that's wonderful. If you then tuck him next to all of the $100 players that are in the middle of your order. But then when you take the $3 player and you literally line up 1 through 4 or 1 through 5 in your batting order with your Yaz and with your Lamont Wade and with your Tyro Estrada, that's a problem. And so I'm not saying these guys can't be on the team, but they cannot be relied on such a level. And I know you said it to me earlier, you're right. They've already started to move the ball down the road on Estrada in those terms. But right field and first base, I'm telling you, I really, and Soto's not happening. So forget that. And I know I threw out like the Bo Bichette acquisition idea before. That works. You could also do a Ha-Seong Kim in free agency. You need a shortstop, a major league shortstop who can either hit or at least hit a little bit and then also be really reliable over at shortstop. But then obviously you're going to need some boppers. And you hope that Bryce Eldridge is everything that you think he can be. You have to create a runway for him while also making first base relevant. That's why, to me, Pete Alonso is in play. Alonso is in play because he can play first base until Eldridge is ready, and then if Eldridge is ready, now Alonso can be your DH. And then, why not Teoscar Hernandez in right field?
Yeah.
Like that you're not getting Juan Soto. But how would you feel about the lineup? Chapman is at third. Bailey's behind the plate. I like Tyler Fitzgerald over at second.
Perfect.
Jung Hoo Lee's in center and Ramos is in left. If you wanted to do a Teoscar Hernandez flanked by Yaz, if you wanted to do an Alonso flanked by Wade, waiting for Eldridge to come up, all good. A Bichette or a Ha-Seong Kim at shortstop. I think you can. That's a lineup the Giants can play with, and Buster needs to make a big, very non-Farhan feeling type move by January. Before the Niners are done playing football, Buster needs a headline that feels non-Farhan-ish, which is either a big name or just, dude, use some of your minor league players in a trade. I think Doval and Matos, and if you want to
Luciano.
If you want to talk Luciano, I don't know what the value is anymore. But those three players.
That for me, if I'm another team, is a buy low value because he's still a young player and he's shown an ability to hit at times. And he's just lost right now. He's lost in the fog. Shout out the great racehorse at Golden Gate Fields. But Luciano does not have a position and he's not been given, like you say, a clear runway to be a major league player. And I like the names you were throwing out there. And everything that I'm thinking about with Buster Posey now as baseball president of ops is he's looking for everyday players. And Ha-Seong Kim, forget this year where he got hurt, but last year he played 152. The year before he played 150. That for me is the kind of player you're looking at. And he played second and a little bit of third and a lot of short. That for me is the kind of guy that Buster Posey and the Giants are looking for. They want to have, of their 9 positions, you want to have, forget the pitcher. I guess the DH would be one of the 9, but you want to have 6 guys who are the guy. Chapman is the guy, and Bailey is the guy, and Ramos is the guy.
Jung Hoo Lee's the guy.
I think that he's the guy. And Tyler Fitzgerald looks like he should be
the second baseman.
The guy. So then if you want to add in a Casey Schmidt, who can be utility, and if you want to add in Yaz, who can be your 4th outfielder, Lamont Wade can be first baseman-ish. You get another catcher to back up Bailey. Now you've got a lineup and you've got a real order that feels like it can go 1 through 9 and turn over.
Yeah. I mean, look, I would even add Schmidt into the group I was talking about. I don't
trade possibilities.
Yeah, I don't know what the value is. I don't know what people outside the organization are looking at with players down on the farm. Casey Schmidt, to me, I hate doing this. He's such a nice dude. He doesn't look like a major league player to me. He looks like a major league player to me, but he doesn't look like a major league starter. The question,
he's a major league player, but he's not. I don't think that he's an everyday starter right now.
I don't see it yet. I really don't. He can't hit, and the question about him was, could he just hit a little bit because he was supposed to be a superstar with the glove? And I would argue he doesn't look like a superstar with the glove either. He's passable. He can play with the glove, but he does not look like the generational glove that we were told that he was. And he swings at flipping everything. For those of you out there that watched Giants baseball this year and said, boy, the situational hitting, he's the worst situational hitter on the team. Like, he would go up there, and if he knew it was a big moment, he would just try to beat the pitcher to the spot, meaning I'm going to try to hit the ball in play as quickly as possible before he strikes me out. So he would swing at everything, absolutely everything. And you can't play Major League Baseball that way. And Casey's now been around for a couple years. So to me, there needed to be more movement from last year to this year with Casey Schmidt than there was.
Well, the beauty of this offseason for Buster Posey is that you've got Yaz, Estrada, Wade, Tyler Rogers. They're all ARB players. And then you've got Luciano and Sable and VR, and Meckler. They're all pre-ARB. So Duvall is an ARB player. You have all these guys who are still under some team control, so you can trade them, and even though their value may not be as high as it was based on their ability, the team control aspect makes them coveted I think, on the open market.
Let's go to Mac T in Union City real quick on this. Hey, Mac T, thanks for calling.
Hey, what's going on, guys? Yeah, I'm excited about the Posey thing. He's a great leader. He's a great baseball mind. I think we're very lucky to be in this situation. But historically, athletes have not always been the best executives or coaches. I think Derek Jeter flamed out pretty quickly, and there's a lot of others. Again, I think he projects really well. My concern with him is just, the time commitment. Like, is he going to really want to grind in the office or whatever? Although on second thought, now I think about it, if he's like the rest of us and he wants to get away from his family, it might actually be a pretty good fit. So that's my thought.
Matt T, thanks. Buster does not strike me as somebody who wants to get away from his family, but I also don't think you need to worry about him putting in the work and putting in the grind. A very smart person who will remain nameless said to me at the press conference just a couple hours ago, one of the beautiful things about Buster Posey taking this job is you can look at what his motivation must be and immediately eliminate all the things you don't want it to be. Buster's not doing this for money.
Nope.
He's not doing this for attention. He's doing it literally for one reason and one reason only. There's only one reason that makes sense.
He wants to fix it.
He cares about Giants baseball to his core. That's it. That's it. That can only be the reason. He cares about Giants baseball even more than you or I do. That's the only reason. And that's
why he bought a part of the team, right?
Right.
So, he bought a piece of the team, and now he sees his team that he co-owns. He has a piece of it, and he thinks, you know what? I think I can fix what ails him. I'll do it.
No worries about him putting in the work.
Exactly.
Absolutely none. All right, 888-957-9570 is the number. More of your calls coming up 1 hour away. Ryan Vogelsong on Willard and Dibs.
Have you lost weight in the past but gained it all back and more? At Abundant Life Weight Loss,
Now, back to
Dillard and Wibbs
on 95.7 The Game.
All right, 888-957-9570. It was as clear as day. It was as clear as day. And I'll give you, again, what I would call the pluses and the minuses, and I hesitate to even call them that because everything is so TBD. But walking into the room, the suite level at Oracle Park today, it was very clear, and I mean the second you walked in. Look, we've all done a lot of these things, and you can tell when people are excited and when people aren't. And the first thing you see is the number of people who showed up. A lot of people.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of people. A lot of people within the organization. You know what I mean? Pat Burrell just cruising around like all smiles. And you see what the Giants are doing. It's Buster's the president. Bo Mel's the manager. Matt Williams the third. Burrell's the hitting coach. Like, you see what they're doing. And is that the right thing or is that a PR thing? I think in this moment it's a little of both.
Hopefully it's a lot of both.
Yeah, hopefully it's a lot of both. But people were excited about this. The media is sort of reflecting what you, the public, think about this and feel about this. And everyone prioritized being there, and everyone across the board was like, this is exciting. And people within the organization, let me just tell you, I described it earlier, and I think I might have been talking about something else, but the analogy plays. People within the organization looked like they had just taken a shower after a hike. Like, that's how they felt. It was just like, oh, God, thank goodness. Thank goodness. And so all positivity there, followed by some of Buster's opening remarks, which we will play for you in a moment. But I thought the summary of his remarks were, this is about players. We need better players. Our teams created memories with great players. And Barry Bonds created great memories. Will Clark, memories. McCovey, Mays, Marichal, memories. We need better players, and that's what we're going to try to go do. I think that has to hit people in a good spot, don't you think?
Yes, and I think even beyond we need better players, we need our players to play better. I think that is as much a part of it as we need better players. The players that we have need to play better, and I heard a lot today about fundamentals and pitching and defense, and Buster even talked about changes to scouting and coaching staff changes. And we know that the GM, Pete Patilla, is going to be reassigned in some sort of a role. But I look at what the message was today, and it was, of course, we need better players, but we need to get back to playing Giants baseball. And if you think about when they won the World Series in 2010, 12, and 14, yeah, it was pitching and defense. And one of those years, they actually were toward the top in home runs. One year they were dead last in home runs. Yep. So it isn't only about we need better hitters, we need more power, we need more boppers. And Buster said this today, and I think Bo Mel actually echoed it, saying you need to have an offense that can score in a number of different ways. And I was thinking a little bit about the 49ers and Kyle Shanahan. You have to be able to run it. You have to be able to throw it shallow, throw it intermediate, throw it deep. You have to have a special teams unit that can not give up big plays and can hold their own and make field goals and cover punts and, cover kickoffs and return kickoffs. And you need to have all three phases on a football team be buttoned up. And I think about this Giants team this year, and they didn't hit a lot of home runs, and you struck out a bunch. You weren't very fast, and you didn't situationally hit very well. So if you want to take that analogy to football, your ground game was terrible. Your deep throwing game, home runs, was mediocre. Your strikeouts, which are basically, to me, like penalties, like false starts and illegal shifts and the rest of it, when you strike out, nothing good can happen unless the catcher misses the third strike.
You were the Jacksonville Jaguars, but you found a way to go 8-9.
Right.
You're sort of like the Jets from last year. You had no quarterback, but you found a way to go 7-10 because sometimes things would bounce your way.
Yeah.
I mean, if you want to look at things through that lens. A little bit like the Denver Broncos.
You had a pretty good defense.
Listen,
pitching and defense.
This is why I find it believable that the turnaround could be quick. I don't know what moves they're going to make. I don't know which of the young guys are sustainable, which of them will really hit, right? Is Hayden Birdsong suddenly just going to be a staple in the rotation all year? Maybe he will. I don't know. But when you look at a team that went 80 and 82, but you also go, they didn't do anything well. What did they do well? What did they do well?
Starting pitching in the second half was good.
Okay.
That's a little bit of a small sample.
Yeah. I mean,
they were
Blake
terrible. The running game, they were a net negative. They were the worst in baseball as far as stolen bases versus stolen bases allowed.
Of course.
Home runs, you were, I think, 15th or 16th. Not great. Strikeouts, you struck out, I think, the 8th most in baseball.
What if I just gave you broad strokes and the whole year? Don't spotlight the last 2 months. Were they a good hitting team?
Are we doing Grandy's grades?
Were they a good hitting team?
Hitting, they probably would get a C minus.
Were they a good pitching team?
Pitching, probably a C.
Were they a good defensive team?
I would say C plus to B minus.
Were they a good running team?
Oh, they were a D minus or an F.
Were they a good power team?
They were a C.
And were they fun?
A fun? Like fun and interesting?
I said, were they fun?
Oh, D minus.
Okay. So again, I'll ask you.
Their average grade was about a C minus.
What did they do well?
Not much.
Thank you. Nothing.
Well, Steiny and Goo actually had an interesting conversation earlier about did they underachieve? And I really don't think that they underachieved at all.
I get where you're coming from. That's a hard question to answer because it's based on everybody's initial perspective on what they were going to be. I'd argue if you took what it sounded like on opening day, what the fans sounded like, right, I would argue that they did underachieve. But that was just our prediction, right, and our excitement in the fact that Chapman and Snell late in the game both joined the team.
I get it, but Snell didn't pitch much until mid-June.
We didn't know that then.
Right, but I'm just looking back at it, and I'm looking at the totality of their parts. And Kyle Harrison, we were expecting too much out of a 22-year-old making his first real season as a frontline starter. Jordan Hicks was a converted reliever. We expected too much out of him. The rest of the rotation, your various Keaton Wins, and the rest of it, until Hayden Birdsong, it's like, okay, Birdsong kind of was a deodorant to a rotation that underachieved. Your bullpen was hit and miss the majority of the year. Your closer had to get sent to AAA. I mean, your pitching staff, if anything underachieved, it was your pitching staff.
Right.
I think that the offensive line, the lineup itself was about what you would have expected. Chapman had a year that you would have expected. Conforto was what you thought he would be. Patrick Bailey was phenomenal and then absolutely terrible. And he kind of leveled out to about where you'd expect.
Yeah.
Elliot Ramos was a bright spot. He was better than you thought he would be.
Of course.
No doubt. Wade got hurt and was out forever. Tyro was a disappointment. Casey Schmidt was underwhelming. Tyler Fitzgerald was a big plus.
Yeah, that was a find.
Yaz was exactly what you thought Yaz would be. He hit like 212 with 20 home runs.
Solid baseball player.
Right. So in general, I think the offense turned out to be about what you would have thought it would be.
You didn't mention Jung Hoo Lee. Obviously, he was exciting, and then he was hurt. Here's part of Buster today on the Giants' identity going forward.
I wouldn't say the brand's been tarnished. I mean, again, I think that's a lot of discussion we're going to be having over the next weeks and months is about our identity, and again, I want to be clear, like our identity really boils down to the players on the field and the way that they play and the type of players they are and how they handle themselves, not only on the field, but in the community. So I think that's going to be a big part of discussion is like what really is important to us as an organization and what are we going to hang our hat on at the end of the day.
Okay, so I spotlight that one for a specific reason. This would be the only thing that you could consider a downside for today. And I don't really think it's that. I think it was predictable, and I think there was no way around this. But Buster Posey at certain times sounded very green. And he is.
Right.
He's never done this before. He's 37 years old. But when someone asks you, when you take a new job as the president of baseball operations, and the old guy has been removed, who so many people did not like. He's gone, and here comes the new guy. And that almost sounded like in an election year asking a presidential candidate, All right. What's your thought on, pick a topic, the border, abortion, whatever thing we're never going to talk about? Throw that out. What's your thought on that? Well, we're going to talk to people and we're going to find out what we think about that in the next 2 months. It's not an acceptable answer. If it were a presidential situation.
Right. This is Buster Posey.
Right. But you did, like, in a perfect world, hey, Buster, what's your identity? And his answer is, well, we're going to talk with the people we hire. And as a group, we're going to come up with our identity. It would sound so much better if he leaned in and looked at the camera and goes, this is who we're going to be.
Well, what does that even mean?
Well, you know what?
Like,
I think there's
we're going to be a team that goes out there and throws strikes, and when the other team hits it, we're going to catch it and throw to the proper base.
No, I don't think that. I think that there's a way to answer that question. Different organizations prioritize different things. For instance, you have cited a few times where he has used the phrase pitching and defense. That can be an identity.
Right.
It was for 3 World Series championships not that long ago. You can sort of give your philosophy on things. We want more everyday players. We want to be faster. We want to have pitching and defense as our calling cards or whatever. We want to hit 300 home runs in a year. You can say whatever you want, but what Buster said was, well, we're going to talk about it and figure it out.
Right.
Which is fine as long as we all accept that he's green. He doesn't have all the answers yet that someone might normally have in this particular press conference.
Fair enough, but I ask you, what was their identity this year? Their identity was, we are mediocre. We're good at nothing. We're not fast. We don't have a lot of power. We don't have a lot of frontline starting pitching, and our bullpen is not very good.
I can tell you what
nobody like us.
I can tell you what they wanted it to be, and you're right, they weren't. And that's the worst thing. Like, Bo Mel, to me, represented, we're going to button up the baseball.
Yeah.
Gabe Kapler, what did he want?
Matchups.
I want human beings. In other words, like, we're going to have lots of coaches, and we're going to do it a certain way, and we're going to be about a philosophy, and that's the kind of person that we want. And that person can have 3 different faces. That person can be a left-hander, or it can be a right-hander, or it can be a switch hitter, or it can be a moment, or who pitches the 8th, who pitches the 8th and a half, and like overly doing all of that. Bo Mel wanted to come in and go, you know what? We need Major League Baseball players. We need people who are going to be professionals. You run hard to first. You pick up the ball when it's hit to you. You know what the hell you're doing out there, and you go play baseball. Go be a baseball player. And then they gave us Marco Luciano at short. And the guy's literally like, I mean, you might as well had someone face backward toward home plate when the hitters are hitting the ball. So that was what they wanted their identity to be, but it wasn't.
Right. And that's why Farhan Zaidi, I think, largely lost his job, because they had no identity. And I'm just looking at a few quick metrics from the season. They committed 87 errors, which was 1 more than the league average. So they were an average defense as it pertains to just errors.
They were average at almost everything.
Their ERA, 4.10. League average, 4.07. So they were a tick below average. OPS, on base plus slugging. Their OPS was 701. The league average was 711. So every metric, they were either a tiny bit above or a tiny bit below. And you look at your record and you were 80 and 82. And in terms of interest level and sizzle, you were probably the 21st most interesting team in baseball. You didn't have a lot of name players. You didn't have a lot of excitement. Elliot Ramos was an all-star based on 7 weeks. Logan Webb is always your all-star. He was good and solid all year, but beyond that, you had a meteoric closer who couldn't keep the job. Your best player was probably your third baseman, who he strikes out a lot. He's really good on defense.
He was like, first half of the year, people were largely more often than not frustrated with Matt Chapman.
Yeah.
But he settled in. He settled in and had the year, I think, when you look at his numbers and then add in his leadership abilities, his professionalism, and his durability, he had the year that you wanted him to have.
And he had the year that you're expecting him to have over the next 4 or 5. But beyond that, your catcher was good defensively, and then he wasn't, and then he couldn't hit, and on and on. Your exciting center fielder got hurt after a month and change, and then the rest of it was just kind of piecemealed mediocrity. So what's Buster supposed to say about his identity? He can say, we want to be pitching and defense, or we want to hit a lot of home runs, or we want to this, or we want to that. But you look at your roster right now, and you don't have an identity. And that maybe is what he has to do between now and March, is to figure out how to make this roster into one that has an identity.
Well, and again, I think that he answered it indirectly throughout the day. Buster Posey wants better players. And I know that you go, well, that's not an identity. Who doesn't want that? I mean that he wants players that people might talk about after the game. You know what I mean? And you hope Bryce Eldridge is one of those guys. They're probably going to need to sign a few guys. But yeah, it's got to come. It's got to come up through the farm. And so right now, if you want to circle one person that can be the quote-unquote identity of the Giants over the next 5 to 7 years, it's right now, it's just a hope. There's nothing else that you can sink your teeth into than that. You hope it's Bryce Eldridge. You hope.
You do. And if you're looking at Buster Posey and what happened with their run and how they came to prominence, it was more than Buster. It was Pablo, and it was Madison Bumgarner, and it was Matt Cain, and it was Tim Lincecum, and it was other homegrown players that turned into the core of guys. And so maybe you already have some of them on the roster now. Patrick Bailey looks like he should be an everyday catcher. And Tyler Fitzgerald is a guy who, if he's not your second baseman, he could be at least your super utility guy and play short and play second and play center field. Elliot Ramos is an all-star. You'd expect him to be a mainstay. And you've got Hayden Birdsong and Logan Webb and Kyle Harrison. So that right there is 7 guys who should be a core part of your team for the next 2 to 3 or 4 years. So can you add to that from the farm with the likes of Bryce Eldridge? Can you add to that from the outside and really have a core of guys that fans can start to latch on to?
Let's go to Chris in San Jose next up on Willard and Dibs. Hi, Chris. Thanks for calling.
And gone.
Yeah.
He hung up on himself.
Yeah.
That's how that went.
I know. That's what that sound is.
Boom. Boom. Totally.
Call back, Chris. Yeah. You hit a button with your face. 888-957-9570. Let's hear a little bit more from Buster. This is what he envisions on the Giants moving forward.
Really, hopefully what it's going to be is we all love, I know Bob loves good, crisp, clean baseball and guys that are going to be always prepared. I think what I can draw on from a player is knowing that if I went into a game and I know I had prepared to the best of my ability, no matter the outcome or result of that game, I could be satisfied with that. And that's, for me, I'm hopeful that our guys are going to get there, and that's going to be something that is really important to them as well.
He was asked how involved he'll be day to day with every little decision that comes for a team.
I think that remains to be seen. Again, I mentioned empowering. We're gonna bring in a GM, and I think once that comes in, some of the delegation will take shape a little bit more. I want to be as useful as I can to be with all the people that I'm working with, but also having in mind and understanding that it's somewhat of a delicate balancing act to where I don't want to be the type of leader that is constantly feeling like I'm looking over somebody's shoulder as well. So I think a lot of that is going to be handled over these next weeks, month, as we start to have more conversations and get synced up more.
So see, that's what I heard repeatedly today that caught my attention.
That's big.
Well, it is, but do you notice the way he starts? How involved will you be day to day? His first sentence out of his mouth was, "That remains to be seen." So the repetitive action of Buster today, and again, I'll state this very clearly. This was exciting. This was awesome. I am all in. I didn't meet anybody who's not all in. Everybody is all in. Just keep in mind that he's green, because at a press conference, when you're introducing something brand new, it's kind of like going to a job interview. If you go to a job interview and the boss just looks at you and goes, "Why should I hire you?" Well, you're not going to be like, "Well, that remains to be seen." Like, you're going to say, "Here's what I'm thinking." And Buster did very little of that today. There was very little of, "This is our identity. This is what I want to do. I want a shortstop. I'm going to hit the trade market. I'm going to this, I'm going to that. He never did I'm going to. He did a lot of, well, we're going to hire other people and then we're going to figure it out. What's your identity? Well, that's what we're going to talk about. Well, how do you see the future? Well, it remains to be seen. There was a lot of that. And so I was just reminded of the fact that Buster is 37 years old and he's never done this before.
And I much rather would have him say that than say things that he either doesn't believe or can't back up. He's in day 2 on the job.
Right.
So he's being asked questions about what are you going to do, and he's 37 with no experience. And so he could say, well, we're going to win the World Series within 3 years, and we're going to remake this farm system, and we're going to bring in the highest paid free agents that money can possibly buy. And he could sell whoop tickets and he could go all the way over his skis all he wants. And then in 3 months, people will circle back and go, well, Buster, you didn't do that and you didn't do this and you were wrong about that. The one thing that I heard him say in that answer just kind of reminded me of what drove us crazy about Farhan, and it's the constant roster shuffle. And he said something to the effect in that quote of, I'm going to be, not that he's going to be hands off, but he's going to, kind of let guys play. He's going to let guys work through it.
Well, I think he's also talking about the people he hires. He's like, I don't want to be over their shoulder too much.
Right. And I also think that he's going to allow guys to not be yo-yoing back and forth. And
you'd hope.
I just picked a guy and I looked at Blake Sable and he got recalled May 4th. He got optioned May 21st. He got recalled July 30th. He got optioned August 1st. He got recalled September 1st. And then he got optioned September 3rd. And then he got recalled today, which is ostensibly
that's exciting.
Meaningless. It just means that he's going to be on the 40-man for the offseason. But I'm seeing 10 different transactions for a Rule 5 guy who I know he's bottom of the roster, but I could pick any player on the roster outside of the big boys like Schmidt. How many times did he go up and down? And Luciano and Luis Matos and all the rest of it. And I was hearing from Buster, maybe not exactly what he said, but the feeling I got was they're going to pick guys, they're going to have them play, and they're going to let them play and not be so quick to just send a guy down.
Well, you have to. Yeah, you have to. Look, no matter if it's the young guy that's actually getting yo-yoed or if it's the veteran who has the locker next door who's watching it all happen, it just makes everybody uncomfortable. Makes everybody uncomfortable. And it's why Evan Longoria a few weeks ago liked a post that said Farhan Zaidi's job is in trouble. Like, just take that. Take that and realize that's how it felt to the players. Doesn't mean they get to run the show, but that's how it felt. And I don't think that leads to good play. I'm a believer in that. Some of that stuff in terms of like their morale, if you will. That's a word that I keep coming back to. All right. Glad you're with us. We'll keep going with your calls next. Ryan Vogelsong is in a half hour. 888-957-9570 is the number. We're presented by Fremont Bank, celebrating 60 years of full-service banking with no compromises. Willard and Dibbs. Hey, it's Willard and Dibbs for Safeway. Enjoy these
Giants fan.
Now, back to Willard and Dibs on 95.7 The Game.
The one question I wanted to ask and didn't get a chance to was, how does he feel in terms of how the ballpark affects free agent pursuits on offense, especially as somebody who used to hit the ball there? I wonder, because Dave Fleming suggested to us, I don't know, maybe he's going to move the fences in.
Yeah.
I don't know. Buster did not appear today to me to be someone who's ready to move the fences in. He didn't sound ready to kind of do anything other than hire a staff and then figure out what they want to do. He's going to be somebody who wants more voices in the room. And I actually do think that while that might not satisfy our machismo, I think that's a good thing. That's a good thing. Buster surround himself with some good people, get multiple opinions in the room, and then start functioning. And he said he wants to hire a GM very quickly, and he should.
Right. So as far as like the overarching questions about what are you going to do and what's your philosophy and what's your plans and all the rest of it, those questions should have been asked, and they were. But for me, I'm not looking for any real answers because the guy's been on the job for a day and a half, and I don't even think that he knows. I don't think that he knows. Not that he doesn't know.
Yeah.
Like, he wants to win, and he wants to fix this and build an organization and all the rest of it. But there's all the little things you have to do first, like hire a staff, hire a GM, figure out who the GM wants as his assistant GM, figure out what you want to do with the scouting staff, the analytical staff, the coaching staff. And then when you get through all that, you can start to roll up your sleeves and think about free agents and the on-field product. I think everything has an order of operations.
Here's what he does know. I agree with everything you just said, but here's what he does know. And this is what I think the most important thing was today about this press conference. What Buster Posey knows is that what he needs to create, and there are a number of ways to do it, trades, free agency, farm system, you got to be a full-service baseball team.
No compromises.
No compromises. That's true.
Yep.
The Giants need to stop compromising. Stop calling the Seattle Mariners on a Wednesday to see if you can get their eighth-string catcher.
Yeah. And they can. And they have.
Do you want to know what I notice about today's press conference? What Buster needs to go create, and he knows this, is more of him. And I know that
because they're just lying around everywhere.
I know your initial reaction is, oh, great. Yeah, go find more like Hall of Famers who are the face of a franchise. That's not what I mean. Here's what I mean. I saw Buster when he was all the way down the hall. And I don't know this to be true, but I'm going to tell myself that there's a reason that my head just popped up and noticed him, even though he was still 60 yards away. Why did I notice him?
He's him.
Because he has it.
He's him.
He has a presence. He has a presence when he walks into a room. He is a larger-than-life figure. And when he sat down and said, we're in the business of making memories, and we're in the business of having families get together and see a player do something that is memorable, maybe forever, that means to me creating larger-than-life figures. And they don't all have to be Busters. We talked to one of them yesterday. We talked to one of them 2 hours ago.
Yeah.
Hour and a half. Matt Cain was on the show. Yesterday, Hunter Pence was on the show. These are not Buster Poseys and Barry Bonds. They're Matt Cains and they're Hunter Pences. And right away, you can think of something they did in a Giants uniform, and you're like, I'll never forget that moment.
Exactly.
I'll never forget the perfect game. I'll never forget when Hunter Pence hit the ball twice, and it went over the shortstop's head, and the Giants won a playoff game. Larger-than-life figures. What current Giant walks into the room and has that presence? Where you're like, ooh, look at that guy. He sits down, and everybody, you don't have to tell everybody, hey, quiet,
Yeah, it's a bit of an unfair bar, but what I'm hearing you say is a guy who you can look at and rely on. And right now I think about Matt Chapman and Logan Webb as number one and number two of guys that you can you could look at it in that same way. And I just punched up the 2014 roster just so I can kind of make my point. And you had a catcher play 147 games, the aforementioned Buster Posey. Your shortstop played 153.
That would be Brandon.
Your third baseman played 157 games, the roly-poly panda.
Pablo.
Your left fielder played 131 games, Mike Morse.
Mm-hmm.
And your right fielder played every game.
100 pence.
Came to the park on a scooter.
Mm-hmm.
So 5 of your 8, because pitchers still hit there, 5 of your 8 were, every day. Brandon Belt at first, I would imagine he got hurt, because he always does. Joe Panik was your second baseman. Angel Pagan played 96 games. Yeah. On the pitching staff, you had 3 guys start every start, Bum, Hudson, and Vogie, and Lincecum started 26. He appeared in 33. It's just because his career was starting to get a little bit leaky.
Right.
And then you had Matt Cain and Jake Peavy.
But that's why I say it's not that high of a bar. I'm not talking about people that necessarily, you can rely on every day. And I'm not even talking about stats or anything like that. I'm talking about that if you want to bring your 7-year-old kid to the ballpark, who's going to make their eyes get big? And I can speak to this. I have a 10-year-old at home who loves baseball. I don't even know who his favorite player is. I do know that he'll stop what he's doing when Shohei comes to the plate.
Of course.
And others. He actually is almost like he's got a brain that I don't even know how it works. He can tell me what every player on every team in every city has done last night. I might be giving him too much screen time. I'm not sure. But the bottom line is that's who you're going to get. That's who Buster was talking about today. Who can walk into the room and make that kid go, oh, my God. And how many names on that roster fit the bill? You don't have to be a future Hall of Famer.
The ones I just mentioned?
You could be Hunter. You could be Pablo.
Brandons.
You could be the Brandons. You could be Lincecum late in his career. You could be Mad Bum.
Vogie.
Well, anyway, he'll be on in 20 minutes.
He became one
year.
of them.
Yes, he did. But you get, and in 2012, but you get what I'm saying, like a figure, somebody who makes you just kind of stop or have a presence or think about them. These are the things that don't happen when you send them to AAA every 5 days.
Exactly. And that's
what we're talking about.
Totally. And I think that part of that goes into what I've been saying all along, which is he and Bob Melvin want what the 2014 had from a position player standpoint, which was 5, if not 6 of your 9 who are, you're playing. You're playing first. Hunter, you're playing right. You're playing right 162 times, by the way. And your catcher played more than Patrick Bailey played. Patrick Bailey, I know, got hurt this year. But give me 5 guys. Give me 5 of the 9 who are going to play 140 times of the 162. And even if you don't necessarily have a monster year, I would take that. If you go 80 and 82 next year, but you give me 5 guys who play every day, I'm more connected to that team than I am this team, which is Wisely.
Yeah,
Wisely, I mean,
I'd argue the number might even need to be a little higher. I get what you're saying.
5 of the 9.
Yeah, and look, people are going to get hurt and stuff like that. Like that was, for instance, the plan with Jung-Hoo Lee, and then he got hurt.
Right.
But if you right now, if you offered me Jung-Hoo Lee fits that bill, Ramos fits that bill, Bailey fits the bill, Chapman fits the bill. I'm hoping that Tyler Fitzgerald at second fits the bill. I'm hoping they find someone who fits that bill at shortstop, Bo Bichette, Ha-Sung Kim. I certainly, probably not Bryce Eldridge. He won't be, my guess is he won't come up until a month or 2 into the season. But someone like that can be over there. And I don't know what they're going to do with right field. Maybe that is the spot where you kind of turn and burn a little bit and platoon and move guys in and out. I don't know. But 5 is a minimum. Maybe more. Probably more, I would say.
Yeah, I mean, if you have more than 5, then you're hoping that you're a really good team and you have really good players in those spots. I look at this year and you had Chapman play 154, Yaz 140, but that's games played. Feels like some of those are including pinch hitting performances.
Well, and he moved between center and right also at times.
7th inning inserts. Conforto played 130. Bailey played 121, which is a good number as a catcher.
Sure.
You take that every year. And Ramos played 121. Once he got up here, he played every day.
Every day.
And then Lamont Wade Jr. played 117. Again, these are just games played, not starts technically. But, I'm looking at the Hunter Pence year, and he had 700 plate appearances,
Jeez.
708. And Buster had 605, and Pablo had 638. These are full, meaty years. And that's really, I think, what Buster and Bob are talking about, where it's not going to be the Kapler, Farhan, hey, Jock, you hit a home run, and it's the fourth inning, and they brought in a lefty, so now you're getting pinch hit for. That stuff analytically might be correct, but like you're saying with your 10-year-old son, if you told him right now, hey, son, here's $100, any jersey, you pick it. You pick your jersey. Oh, Dad, I don't know. I'm not sure, Papa.
I don't know.
I mean,
I don't know.
Can I get two? Can I platoon my jerseys?
He doesn't sound like that, but yeah,
it's part of the fun.
He might ask for ice cream instead.
I'm sure he has your voice already. Yeah. Dad, I would like.
He kind of does.
We, as your offspring, would like a Doval.
I'd like a jersey and an ice cream.
Totally.
Let's go to
the phones.
Yeah. Chris in San Jose, who hung up on himself, is back. Hi, Chris.
Hey, Mark. You know what? I should start the call. Mark. Chris. I mean, I'm not calling about the Niners today.
Okay.
Listen, I'm going to try to be more even keel like ball players should be, okay? I'm not going to come in hot like I was talking about the Niners last week.
You can come in hot. But, I don't know what you're going to say yet, though.
I don't even know what I'm going to say, Mark. I got about 8 different topics I want to talk about.
Well, pick 2.
And I can only get to 2 or 3 before you hang up on me for calling you out on something.
That is accurate.
Maybe 1 to 2.
Actually, if you call me out, you tend to stay longer.
Yeah.
But anyway, go ahead.
He's got a thick skin.
I was going to say, I know Dippers is setting the over at 1.5, but Mark, I actually agree with you today. I think earlier at some point you talked about essentially the grass isn't always greener. You never know what you're going to get on the other side. And, Zaidi, he has his flaws, or I should say had his flaws. But at the end of the day, you're talking about a guy who had a winning record and had like the 6th or 7th best record in the National League over the last 5 or 6 years. So a lot of mediocre years. He had that one outlier of a year. But, I just be cautious. You never know what's going to happen on the other side. On the other hand, I am optimistic. It's going to be funny when about 2, 3, 4 years from now, the Giants are back in contention, hopefully, and half the roster or better is Farhan Zaidi drafted players. I mean, ideally, we're all hoping Bryce Eldridge is the new coming of Barry Bonds, and he's, the guy we can buy his jersey. He's the guy we want to root for, and perennial all-star, future Hall of Famer, so on and so forth. And we're going to be like, oh, that was a Farhan guy? Oh, okay. Well, we'll give him his credit, I guess, like 5 years later. So I just kind of wanted to bring that to the table. You never know what's going to happen. Buster's 37. He's a great ball player. He's an old Southern boy from Georgia, but he has no experience in this whatsoever. We were all faithful and we believed in Zaidi because we thought he was a part of building the A's, building the Dodgers, and, he can do the same thing and find guys on the fringes with Giants, which he did, but we were never able to find that star. So hopefully Posey is able to, swing the tide a little bit in some negotiations, maybe bring in a guy or two. I think Chapman's a good start. But at the end of the day, I do think Zaidi got a bad rap. It was overplayed. He's far more than mediocre. Sure, he might be the 10th best GM in baseball. He wasn't the 30th best GM in baseball like we were acting. So we'll give Buster a chance. He's young. I'm 50-50 on it, but let's ride, baby.
Okay,
we're
Chris.
Giants fans.
Yeah, Chris. Let us give you something to chew on. Thank you for the call. You're listening to 95.7 The Game, KGMZ FM and HD1 San Francisco and Odyssey Sports Station, always live on the free Odyssey app, Twitch and YouTube, powered by First NorCal Credit Union for a low rate. Auto loan, apply online, or just ask for First NorCal financing at the dealer. Comment and a prediction, because he says, what happens if this goes well? What happens if it goes well in 2 years?
Well, he gets credit after the fact.
And you're looking at players who were, quote-unquote, drafted by Farhan Zaidi. What if you're looking at a battery of Birdsong and Bailey, and then there's Bryce Eldridge holding down first base and batting third and hitting his 33rd home run of the year, and it's a splash hit into the San Francisco Bay. Like, okay, what if it plays that way? And you'll say, well, these are Farhan's people. Here's what you actually need to think about. And Farhan admitted this himself literally just last week. And he said, you know what? I probably should have found a way to create more of an avenue for the young players in this organization. It's not just about drafting them. It's about developing them. It's about having the patience to stick with them through thick and thin, and then creating somebody who can be an everyday player. What I'm most excited about today is that as Bryce Eldridge gets to the doorstep of Major League Baseball, hopefully when he comes up and hits 180 for 4 weeks, you ride it out. You ride that out. Because if you don't, you will rob the confidence of people. You will send them back and forth. You will then kill the morale of your clubhouse. And you will watch what has happened to Luis Matos. And you will watch what has happened to Marco Luciano. Like, the best thing that happened to Tyler Fitzgerald and Elliot Ramos is that they came up and then everyone went, dude, go play. Just go play. And when you go 0 for 4, you're going to be in the lineup again the next day. But that very rarely happened in the Farhan Zaidi regime. So he could draft the right player, but that doesn't do anything for you if you don't then give that player a chance with a little bit of patience.
Yes, draft and develop. And it's interesting what Chris said about credit, and we've all talked about it with Eldridge, like in 2 or 3 years, if he's a 23-year-old all-star, man, all the credit goes to Farhan Zaidi. Well, is that really how it works? Because Elliot Ramos this year was an all-star. Do you know who drafted him?
Not Farhan Zaidi.
It was Bobby Evans.
Correct.
So Bobby Evans, who was on with Steiny and Guru earlier, and I don't know if he has taken or will take a victory lap for Elliot Ramos, first round pick, number 17 overall.
We talked to him about it a couple months ago.
Right. And so he can take a victory lap and he can take credit, but what good is that? It does you no good when you don't currently have the gig. So yes, Bryce Eldridge, sure, and Patrick Bailey and Hayden Birdsong, these are all great picks, maybe. And if they turn out to be the battery on opening day or maybe a playoff game, and yeah, Farhan Zaidi drafted him, good. It's a footnote. It doesn't matter for a hill of beans unless it helps him get a job somewhere else.
Well, you know what example's coming to mind as you're sitting here saying this is Steve Kerr. Like, what credit does Steve Kerr get? Do you ever hear of Steve Kerr get any credit? Has he won anything around here?
Yeah, he's done all right.
I'm pretty sure the great players that Steve Kerr has worked with, he was not coaching when the team drafted them. He was not coaching when they first started to move up even in the organization, when they became starters, when they became 20-point per game players, when they became playoff players, when they made the playoffs and started moving through series. He was not the coach. And then he came in and he elevated him to another level. So I would look at it that way. And I'm not someone who's going to sit here today and validate all of the stuff you've said for the last 6 years and say that Farhan Zaidi was just a big bag of coal. You can do that if you want.
Yeah.
Plenty of people are, and you're allowed your feeling. But of course I can make a list of all bad. I can do that with Farhan Zaidi. You're leaving some things out. So if you want to do that, do that.
Yeah, you can do whatever you want.
Be emotional about it and be so excited that Buster's here, and that is all completely fair. But if you want to act like Farhan Zaidi never did anything right, I don't agree with you.
Yeah, you're wrong.
I think that this is the right move. I think we got to a spot where the organization was not functioning at a high level anymore. I think morale was killed. I think there are too many non-baseball things happening in a baseball organization. All those things are true. But if you just want to sit here and be like, this idiot who never, like, that's not how it happened.
No, it's wrong.
It's not how it happened. And a bunch of the players that you're sitting here now saying are the foundation for the future. And even if you love Matt Chapman, that's a great example. Does Buster get credit for Matt Chapman? Sign him to extension. He didn't sign him the first time he came here.
Exactly.
I don't know. There's always nuance and context, and it often gets lost.
Of course it does,
fine.
especially on a day like this. And when you get replaced by one of the more beloved members of the organization and its history, it's going to cast a certain shadow on Farhan Zaidi. And Farhan inherited a team that was desperate for a lot of change. The farm was barren, and the Major League Club was old and underperforming. And I liken the Farhan Zaidi era to a football team taking over 1st and 10 at its own 20-yard line, and he took them on a 16-play, 60-yard drive, and they had to settle for a field goal. And, you got down...
They might have doinked the field goal off the bar, but I get what you're saying.
It was a lot of like 2 yards, 3 yards, 3 yards, 4th and 1, he picked it up. Then there was a hold. Then they got 8. Then they got 7. 3rd and 6, he got 7 yards. Look, it was a lot of incremental wins. It was a lot of 2 steps forward and 1 step back. And at the end of it, you possessed the ball for 6 years, and you wound up with a field goal, and you're right. They might have doinked it.
He didn't connect with the fan base, and the job was probably a little bit of a misfit in ways, because I don't think he fully connected with his baseball people either.
Good call.
I think he was a little bit too smart. I think that he, you know what I mean, and felt that way. He really, really wanted to do it his way, damn it, his way, even when others were telling him they needed to do it a different way. So there was some stubbornness there. I think all of those things are absolutely true. But Steiny said something on the air today that I would argue 70% of you don't want to believe, and it's a fact. And that is that the organization is in better shape today than it was when he took over.
Agreed.
And if you can't remember that, if you think that it was just playoffs and balloons every year, because we all love Boch, and we all love the regime that brought us all of those memories. But if you want to go back to 2017 and reverse history, go right ahead. That I think that this was absolute a necessity. I think this is a great move. I think yesterday was a great day. All of that said, I would choose to look back on history that way, and that the organization is stronger right now than it was 6 years ago.
Yeah.
And can you at least give him that?
Absolutely.
Can you at least give him that?
You can. And I'm just looking at a comp in terms of results. And I'm looking at 2004 to 2009, where you didn't win the division. You were 20 games above in 2004, which was, as you know, 2 years removed from the World Series and 1 year removed from a playoff berth. 04 to 09, 0 playoff berths, and you had 2 winning records. And they stuck with Brian Sabean through those years where it was really the tail end of Bonds, and you were trying to figure out a way to go from Barry to Barry Zito, that is. And so it was a little bit of an odd time for the organization, but they stuck with Sabean, and the fruits of his labor in the minors were born in 2010 when Buster came up and Mad Bum was up, and you ended up winning the World Series.
Absolutely. 888-957-9570. A lot of you want to weigh in on all this. It was Buster Posey Day. Really interesting press conference that happened earlier today at Oracle Park. We're talking about it. We're taking your calls. 888-957-9570. Buddy and Will and Matt, hang right where you are, because we're coming to you. And then there's also another call that's going to come in here in a few minutes. And his name is Ryan Vogelsong. So Ryan will join us next. The end of summer sales event is on at Frontier Ford on Stevens Creek in Santa Clara. Now's the time to get a great deal on a new Ford car, truck, or SUV. So stop by or visit frontierford.com for incredible savings and drive away in your dream Ford at Frontier Ford or frontierford.com. This is Willard and Dibbs.
The economy is rough, and traditional four-year programs are just not cutting it. People need something new, and Merit America is...
to
Will and Dibby
on 95.7 The Game.
You know who we're going to talk to in like literally just moments?
No, who?
Well, according to Matt Cain, one of the new Giants coaches.
Wait, what?
Didn't Matt Cain tell us that he could see Vogelsong being on the staff?
Oh, that's right. I asked Matt Cain who he thought would be cut from that cloth.
And he had no idea who was going to be on the River Islands guest line.
Nope.
Later on in the show. He didn't know that.
Does he get his old number back when he joins the staff?
Vogelsong?
Bob Melvin's staff? Yeah.
You know me. I'm like the anti-numbers guy. I'm like the opposite of Joe Shasky and Bonte. I have no clue what number. You have to be Buster-esque. 28. I got that.
Yep.
Steph wears 30.
Timmy.
I got that. Tim Lincecum?
Double nickels, kid.
Oh, right. 55. Right.
Yeah.
Right. I'm
a
not,
little disappointed too, Grant.
I'm not kidding you. I don't have the memory for the numbers. I just don't.
Joe Montana.
17? I'm kidding.
That was Steve DeBerg. Same thing.
No, I can get most of the big ones. And I knew Timmy was 55, but it escaped me. Mad Bum was 40. Is that right? Is Mad Bum 40?
Yeah, 40.
40, right?
Yep.
Steph wears 30. Draymond wears 23.
Willie McCovey?
Sure. Yeah, Willie Mays was 24.
No, you said sure. You didn't answer. Willie
44.
McCovey. Okay, yeah.
44.
Yeah.
Yeah. Even the ones that are obvious take me a second.
Thank you.
It's just the way my brains were. I'm watching the game. I'm just not.
Trey Deuce, 32.
Oh, did he?
Yeah.
Oh, that's a pretty big number in sports. It's a pretty big number.
Barry
in sports.
Zito?
Oh, come on.
75.
Look at the big brain on Brett.
That era Giants, the big ones were always the 8s. But Hunter Pence wore 8.
Yes, Hunter Pence wore 8.
Matt Cain wore 18, right?
And Buster was 28.
Buster wore 28. Brian Wilson, 38. Pablo Sandoval, 48.
See, if you had asked me B-Dubs and Pablo, I'd have been like, meh. Like, literally, you would be shocked at what I can't tell you when it comes to players' numbers.
Yeah.
I can get most of the really big ones. I could tell you that Steve Young wore 9, for example. I'm kidding. I know that he wore 8.
This is not funny. Like, for the Warriors, you could rattle off the big 3, and you would know.
Clay wore 11, the draft pick.
Yep.
Steph 30, Draymond 23.
Correct.
But if you start Kevon Looneying me, I'm
GP2.
Sure, 0.
Okay, see, you can do it.
I can kind of do it, but I'm not sure of myself.
What's
at
crazy
all.
is, and if this is a guide for everyone, in these moments of memory, if you close your eyes, the memories will come back more strongly.
This isn't a memory thing. I just don't notice. It's just not. I don't know. It's not my thing.
Trent Williams,
71.
Yeah.
Okay.
Red shorts Ayuk.
He's 11. I know that.
Yeah. Your boy, Brockistan. Brock Purdistan. You're a Brockistan, so you know that one.
13 for Dan Marino.
Delicious. 13 is so.
Brock is a star. Stop it. He's a star.
You remember what Jimmy wore, right?
He wore 10, right?
Yeah. Okay. Ronnie Bell also wears 10. Just healthy scratch. Debo Samuel.
Well,
Samuel.
Now he wears number 1.
Which I don't like.
But he used to wear
19 problems was dope. George Kittle. That's my guru voice.
He was 85.
See, you're better than you think.
I mean, but like, you're giving me stupid, obvious stuff.
DeAnthony Melton? I got Granny to laugh.
Like, what?
That made me feel good.
I have no idea, and I won't.
84.
Years. No,
I made that up.
What's he wearing?
I don't know what he's wearing.
But like, I'll give you a good example of what I could. If you gave me Brandon Pajemski, I mean, I could. Does he wear 112? No clue.
He's a single. Yeah, I think he's a single digi.
No idea. And we love Pods. He's been on the show 413 times. That's a record. I have no clue what he wears. But
that's a tough one for me.
I feel good because look, you two, neither do you. Granny's Googling.
I knew he was single
but you Googled. I saw you Google.
I didn't know it off the top of my head.
I have no clue what Pods wears.
How about palms up, Iguodala? What did he wear?
Oh, give me a second and I might get that.
Close your eyes. Yep.
Iguodala wore
About the number represents how many times a show I would rip him.
Did he wear number 9?
Number 9, yeah.
Did I get it?
Attaboy.
Oh my God. I was like 42% sure on that. Yeah. I don't like it. I don't notice. And especially if you give me the guys that are I can get, as you just saw, I could get most of your A-level guys, but when you go to B-level, ask me about the second tight end.
Salbert, 82. Duh.
Well, yeah, you just told me 82. I wouldn't have gotten that.
Right.
I wouldn't have gotten that. I was
trying to tell you. Tell Noah Hufanga.
That is tough.
Does he wear 29? Okay.
Dude. Yeah! This is like your hip-hop knowledge where you always surprise me.
It is kind of like that. Like I got most of it, just not all of it.
No, you're running hot right there.
Yeah.
Well, hopefully our upcoming guest can...
Well, let's take some calls because Vogie's a little bit late, so no worries. Let's take some calls. Let's go to Buddy in Walnut Creek. I have no idea what number he wears, but hi, Buddy. What do you got?
What I've got here is a little problem here, Wills. Let's see how many Giants that you can name that are going to be playing on the team next year. Jung Ho Lee.
Yes.
Number.
Oh, God, no idea.
Oh, boy.
No.
That's unfair.
Okay,
he's 51.
I thought you were asking me if they were going to be on the team next year. I was I got that one right.
He's rocking 51 because I actually, within 2 weeks of him signing, I was seeing Jung Ho Lee jerseys in and about town. And I remember that because Ichiro Suzuki also wore 51.
See, I thought you were giving me an easier test. Willie, yeah. Okay, so give me some more, buddy.
Tyler Fitzgerald.
Yep. 14.
I've heard of him.
No clue.
No, it's Patrick Bailey wears 14.
Oh, so I wouldn't have known that either.
Elliot Ramos.
Yep.
Ramos.
How about
good little player?
Elliot wears 35. I have no clue.
There you go.
Did I get it?
I think that's right.
No.
I think so.
No, that's Crawford.
Yeah. No, Brandon's not on the team anymore.
No one's going to wear 35.
Okay. What does Elliot wear?
I don't know.
Yeah, see, these guys, you don't know either. Buddy, you don't even know. You got to know the answer to your own question.
No, I know. That's not a good look.
Okay.
But,
Elliot Ramos wears 17. He wears 17.
Wow. Okay.
All right. The last two to wear 35 as Giants, Brandon Crawford and Rich Aurelia.
Yes,
That's
indeed.
pretty cool, though.
So,
no one's worn it since those two shortstops.
Well, maybe the next shortstop will. Bo Bichette, number 35. Go ahead, buddy.
Hey, here's what does look good, and I think it's the hiring of Buster Posey, and I think what he's going to bring to the organization. I think we all said it that you can identify talent, you can see talent, but can you develop talent, right? And I think maybe that's where there's going to be a little bit of a difference, and giving guys a chance, because I think when you identify it, I think most of us have a pretty good eye, and I think a lot of us are a little disappointed when our eye doesn't equal results, and maybe our eye doesn't equal results because the guys we thought were going to be pretty good aren't given a chance. And I think when Buster came up, I think all of us had the eye was, this guy's going to be pretty good. Tim Lincecum, Matt Cain, Brandon Belt, Brandon Crawford. I think we all had a pretty good eye that they're going to be pretty good, and we let them run through some slumps, and then they ended up producing. So the funny thing is about the Giants, and actually all major league teams, a lot of them, is the Giants won, what they won 80 games this year. And if you really think about it and how many games they lost that were so close, and the difference between the Giants being a playoff team, a perennial playoff team, it's 2 games a month. So that's what I think the Buster difference is going to make. Let's win those 2 games extra a month. Let's not blow that save. Let's get that runner over. Let's be athletic. Let's be smart. Let's play good baseball. 2 games a month is 12 games. That's 92 wins for the Giants. It's 2 games. It's not saying we got to be careless.
Like, you sound like, is that the scene from, is it Bull Durham or one of the old movies? It's not Bull Durham.
It's Any Given Sunday.
No.
We fight for that inch.
No, the one where he goes, you know what the difference is between
it's Bull Durham.
250 hitter and a 300 hitter? Basically, it's 1 hit a week. It's one more ground ball with eyes. It's one more Texas leaguer. Whatever it is. And, buddy, you're not wrong. I was asked earlier today. Thanks, buddy. It was Nahigian who goes, hey, do you honestly think that this move alone makes the Giants, say, 5 or 6 games better, which, by the way, is still not enough. But does this make them 5 or 6 games better? Like, if this team were being run by Buster Posey, do you think they would have won 85 games? And I go, you know what? I actually think that they do. And it can be the exact same players. And my belief is that morale was a problem. And I'm a big believer in morale, which is something that is intangible, turning into things that are tangible. I'm a very big believer in that. And so if you've got players who don't feel good about themselves, or they don't feel confident, or they're being told that they're not allowed to hit a left-hander, or they know that if they strike out, they might get sent down the next day. If you have all those things, like, I don't think Farhan was trying to do that, but the mechanics of what he was doing did do that. And I do think that probably the collective led to some losses.
Without a doubt. And it's something that I've said for years and years and years on the radio and off the radio, especially when it comes to analytics, because the analytics tell you what a player should do in a situation based on their ability versus the pitcher's ability, lefty, righty, righty, lefty, ballpark factors, day game, night game, whatever those things are that you want to lean on. But at the end of it, you're dealing with human beings. And I know this, if we had a station that was run purely by analytics, and if I woke up in the morning and didn't know until about 12 o'clock whether or not I would be the technical director, Mark Grandy, the director of sports taking calls, Lucas Alexander, your seat, my seat, mornings, middays, afternoons, nights, Spadoni's job, not on the air, any of that, if every day it was up for question,
oh God,
you wouldn't be as good. Nobody would be as good. One thing that we have here is I know it's going to be me and you and Grandy and Lucas, except for days when people have off, whatever. And going in, I know when I'm working with you, what you're going to do, how you're going to present things, how I'm going to react, and how you're going to react to me and the callers and this and the sound and everything else. It's comfortable. And because I'm comfortable, and I hope you are too, and I think you are, and everyone else is, our show is elevated because we don't have that mystery that goes into playing for an analytics organization.
It's kind of an interesting comp in terms of industry. Like, imagine if in our industry you reacted with jobs based on what happened last month.
Or last night.
If you just took a 4-week period and went, okay, I'm making decisions based on that. Well, you're dead. You're dead. Like, it's too volatile. It's too dependent on other things that are completely out of people's controls. Like, what season is it? Who's playing? Who's playing well? Like, whatever. Like, that has an effect on our data. And the Giants were being run in a way where if you did have a bad month, that might be it. And you go to Sacramento and see if you can luckily work your way back or not.
Right.
And I'm not saying that that's always the wrong move. Sometimes it is. I'm not saying you can just bring up your young people and here, Casey Schmidt, you're our shortstop now. Like, no, if you swing at every pitch that's outside, then no, you don't get to be the shortstop anymore. But there does have to be more patience. And imagine how we might have felt had Farhan and that way still been in charge when someone like a Bryce Eldridge came in. And you're like, is he being developed right? And is he going to be given a chance? I mean, the Luciano thing is so fascinating because you're right. He didn't draft him, but he also oversaw the organization while Marco floundered around in the minor leagues in such a way where he is not good enough to bring a glove to any position and seemingly nobody knew. Like, think about that, okay? 1 year ago today, we sat in the dugout and listened to Farhan say, we have got to let go of Brandon Crawford because we have got to open up a lane for Marco Luciano to be our opening day shortstop. Come to know a year later, he can't pick up a ground ball. How is that possible?
Right.
That kind of thing just can't be. It can't be. It's okay. It's not Farhan's fault that he can't pick up a ground ball, but it's Farhan's fault that they're still putting him over at shortstop, asking him to pick up ground balls when he can't pick up ground balls. You're a major league team. So put him in the outfield, make him a DH, or trade his butt to Toronto before anybody realizes that he can't pick up a ground ball. That's the kind of stuff that needed to happen.
Did we not see that he couldn't pick up a ground ball before last October when y'all sat in the dugout? And
I guess I can only guess not, but I don't know how that's possible.
Yeah, and maybe it's because he didn't play a lot of games last year, and he played some second last year, and I'm looking at his game log in 2023, and he was hurt a lot, so he only played 50 games in the minors, and he only committed 7 errors in those 50 games, which is a lot for a shortstop, but not an alarming number. And the year before that, he only played 57 games. Well, he made 12 errors in those 57 games. Maybe that would have been a tip-off, but at the time, he was only 20 years old, so maybe the prevailing notion was, oh, he'll get better. And then he was hurt, and then he didn't get better, and then he was hurt, and he didn't get better, and then this year he got a shot in the bigs, and oh my goodness.
Oh my gosh, it was embarrassing.
Fielding percentage of .865 at shortstop.
It's embarrassing. And it's really, when I talk about morale, these are the things. You have a fan base that's been gassed up about Marco Luciano for the better part of 4 years. And then he gets up here, and that happens. He don't even know where to throw the ball if he's lucky enough to catch it. And you're like, what? This is our great hope? It kills everybody's vibe. It just does. It just does. Will in the East Bay. Hi, Will. Thanks for calling.
Thank you. Good to talk to you guys again.
Thank you, Will.
From you guys often. By the way, thank you. Remember a guy named Theodore Roosevelt once said, speak softly and carry a big stick. No pun intended here. That's what you got here with Posey, okay? For me, I agree with everything you guys have said, but I just want to elaborate a little bit on the minor league pipeline and the drafting, okay? It's not an anomaly that the Dodgers have all these young guys coming out and with the organization, or the Orioles or the Braves, and I think he knows that. And I think he knows that he needs to get a little bit more fine-tuned with the scouts and the people in that department, okay? Reminds me of a movie with Clint Eastwood, Trouble with the Curve, okay? These guys need to see, beyond the obvious and those things. The other thing is this perception that Oracle Park is not a hitter's park, okay? Now, granted, it was designed, for the hitters, situational play, stealing up bases, getting hit in. But it also rewarded the hitters, the power hitters, and also the pitchers, okay? Any question about that? Look at that unicorn that hit a 430-foot shot to the deepest part of the park. You know who I'm talking about.
Well, he's got, those are outliers, though, Will. Like, I'm going to take my cues from the people who have actually hit in that park, and they will all tell you it is a terrible hitter's park.
Well, let me say this, Will, okay? When you're swinging for the fences every time you come to the plate and your strikeouts are some of the worst in baseball, okay? That also plays into this picture. What I'm saying...
Yeah, but Will, no, hang on, Will. You're talking about today's players. I'm talking about all of them. For 24 years at 24 Willie Mays Plaza, Rich Aurelia was on the morning show today. Rich will tell you. Okay. Terrible hitter's park.
Okay. But then again, we can look back in the past and you got Barry, that takes a flick of the wrist and that ball's sitting in the cove.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
And like I mentioned, show it. Okay. One flick of the wrist,
but yeah.
430 feet. Let me just finish my point. Okay. I think that Posey, okay, could step up, and you're not going to see, these guys flying overhead, like Harper and like Judge and Shohei and whoever smiling down and going, what a beautiful city, next, okay? I think he can bring a perception that you can get the big hits in this park. We don't play platooning baseball anymore. It's not all analytics based. You come here, we're going to play you every day, and you can hit as long as I'm in charge, okay?
Yeah. Will, I agree with that. Will, thank you very much for the call. I agree with that. I mean, yeah, what do Judge, Soto, Ohtani, and Harper all have in common?
No park can hold them.
Well, they're also all still playing.
Right.
They're all still playing baseball.
And they're also hitting bombs wherever they're playing.
Yeah.
And
they also all turned down playing here.
Yeah. Well,
a lot of commonalities.
Soto didn't do it yet. The team that was holding him turned it down. But yeah, like, and by the way, I don't think that is a 100% fair barometer. I really don't. Like, that's another thing. I get the frustration, but to sort of like judge an entire regime's tenure based on whether or not the 3 best players in the game would come there, that's pretty tough. Like, first of all, Aaron Judge is a Yankee. He ain't leaving the Yankees. I do think the ballpark, from what I've heard, was the chief reason that Shohei wouldn't come. And actually, I'll go to my grave feeling that they could have had Bryce if they'd ponied up. They just got beat financially. And that's on them. That's on them. That, to me, is always going to be the one who got away. Bryce Harper should have been a Giant because they should have added $35 million onto a massive 13-year deal. That's not asking that much. That's $3 million a year more. If they had done it, I think he'd be here. I really do. So that's the one to me that's on them. I'm not going to hold Shohei or Aaron Judge against Farhan Zaidi.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, I don't hold any of them against Farhan Zaidi outside of the fact that he didn't get it done. And your job is to put together the best roster you could, and you pursued him, and you couldn't bring it in. I'm just looking at the StatCast numbers for ballparks, and based on home runs, Oracle Park is ranked number 30 in StatCast. Actually, it's 30 out of 32. They have London Stadium and they have Journey Bank Ballpark as the other two that are below. Oracle Park has a rating of 78. 100 is average, and it's rated as a 78. Great American Ballpark is 128 for home runs.
Oh, that place. Yeah, you could flick the ball out of there.
Right.
Yeah.
Dodger Stadium is 2, Yankee Stadium's 3.
It's not a good hitter's park. This is
just for home runs.
Well documented. Let's go to Matt in Napa. Hey, Matt, thank you for calling.
Hey, thanks for taking my call, actually. And this is ironic that I'm actually agreeing with you, Willard. You got to give him time. I'm a Tigers fan, so 2012 was the worst year of my life. My first year living in Napa. But we got Harris from the Giants, new GM. He took over from Avila. Avila we all hated. Harris comes in with all the young guys and starts promoting them and they start playing. The other thing with Posey, I think, is going to be great. He's a catcher. Catchers are the smartest guys in baseball. No doubt about that. And, I mean, I think this is going to be a great move for the Giants. And then the one last thing I have to say is, please have some chicken milk. Later.
Nice.
See you, Matt.
Shout out Chicken Milk. Goes back to Jolo and Dibs days where Lo Neal seemed to think maybe it was just a day, but that you could milk a chicken. You could get milk from a chicken. So chicken milk became a thing on the show.
Go to hell, Dibs.
I'm sorry, Lo, but when a caller calls in and walks us off with chicken milk and my partner looks at me like, what the hell was that?
Do you have proof that you can't?
I don't have proof either way.
I'm just asking the questions here.
Lo Neal grew up on a farm.
You got to Google it.
I'm trying to remember the exact reference, but it had to do with milking a chicken. And maybe somebody out there, 888-957-9570. Chicken milk became a thing. Chicken milk.
I'm really ticked off that that's not the name of your fantasy team.
I could use
this Dibber Clause thing. It honestly, it's played out. Like, do something different. You know, how many nicknames do you got? With Nostradamus, fine. We'll do Fade the Dibbers. Dibber Clause. It's not Christmas yet. Like, just shake it up.
The thing about Dibber Clause is
chicken milk. That would have been great.
There's so many Loisms I could have used.
Yeah.
But a hungry lion hunts best, or
toe jams and chicken milk. You could have done it.
Yeah.
You still can.
I'm sticking with Dibber Clause.
Just go to the edit button.
And as you know, the Dibber, I give and give and give. Last night I gave you a Monday night winner.
And a loss.
That was a bad
And
beat.
I told you which one I liked, and I was right. I hit my parlay.
Yep.
So
Well, you should have faded both of them if you had any backbone.
No, because I knew you were right about the Lions.
What am I, 6-5 now or 7-6? I know I'm a game above. I got a Thursday night lock already set.
Oh, God.
You are now 6-7-1. Oh no, sorry, you're 7-6-1.
7-6-1.
The fade the Dibbers record is 6-7-1.
You can drop the draw. Nobody cares about the draw.
I trust in Fade the Dibbers. I really do. We're presented by Fremont Bank. Celebrating 60. You're not celebrating. You've won one in a row.
No, actually, he's lost one in a row because
because he got the Lions game and it ended later.
Yes, Grandy.
Right. Yeah. Celebrating.
I'm looking at this from the Fade the Dibbers record, not from Dibbs' record.
Grandy, I'm trying to gas up Fremont Bank, celebrating 60 years of full service banking with no compromises. All right, now you can rip Dibbs again.
Oh, I'm good.
Okay.
Yeah.
888-957-9570. Hey, good job booking Vogelsong there, Lucas.
Yeah, maybe I'll call in a little bit.
Willard and Dibbs.
Thanks.
Xfinity here. How can we help?
Hi.
No. Okay, you right. You're wrong. Let me tell you why. And you're semi-right.
Now, back to
Will and Dibby
on 95.7 The Game.
Some wheeling and dealing going on in here.
Yeah, we might have a trade.
Yeah, we might.
Look at Grandy. He thinks we're talking about our fantasy league. We're not.
Okay, carry on.
We're talking about trading phone numbers.
We're swapping contacts.
Yeah.
Oh, my guys for his guys.
That's right.
I have juice in very few areas, but
you got some friends in low places,
and sometimes those low places are needed.
Yeah.
I'm gonna do you a solid. I don't know why.
I know.
All you do is talk block me.
Seriously.
Make me feel bad about myself. Oh, yeah.
Don't miss the kickoff show this Sunday with Dibbs' ex-partner, Lo Neal.
Go to hell, Dibbs.
And Evan Giddings.
Go to hell, Dibbs.
Live 2 hours before the start of the game. They'll talk chicken milk and more. Hilton Santa Clara will be the spot for delicious food like chicken milk and great drinks and the best pregame show in the Bay Area. Lo and Evan. Presented by Habas Law. You've been wrong? Habas Law will fight to make it right. Call 1-800-INJURED or visit habaslaw.com. Vogie update? Are we just out or are we still efforting? I don't care. Let's just talk about this. What do we got?
Oh, we're always efforting. We're just waiting on a call back at this point.
Just waiting on a call back. Okay. Yeah. Something came up for Vogie. I bet it's the Buster called him and offered him a coaching gig. He's like, now I can't talk to those guys. Now we got to keep this under the covers.
Yep.
We got some stuff brewing. I bet that's what happened. Matt Cain said it at 2:30, and now Vogie is like, we're gonna have to push back a little bit. So we'll see.
It will be interesting to see who Buster tabs from his past. And I know we've all talked about former players. We asked Matt Cain, and Cainer, 40th birthday today. Happy birthday, Matt.
Yep.
Was like, nah, I'm good. But I'm sure some of those guys who are at least lightweight interested in doing it, if somebody I was that close to got a gig like that, I certainly would place a call.
Well, if that's what you want. You know what I mean? Matt Cain signed a deal for over $100 million. So did Buster. That's why we were talking earlier about, well, Buster's not doing this for the money. He must only be doing it. And again, if whoever said that to me earlier will remain nameless. Thank you for that thought, because I thought it was a really, really interesting one, which is you look at this situation analytically, okay? Not baseball analytics, your own analysis. Take a look at it. Why would Buster do this? I find this to be a very comforting thought. He's not doing it for money. He's certainly not doing it for attention. He's not doing it because his wife wants him out of the house and she'd like to raise the 4 kids by herself. He's not doing it for any of those reasons. There really only can be one that anybody can think of. And it's that he freaking loves Giants baseball. And watching them flounder hurts like hell. And one thing they kept saying at the presser today, when someone like Buster asks for the ball, you give it to him. It's kind of like when KD was yelling at Draymond, and Draymond just dribbled right by him.
And he was doing the clap, 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 clap. Yep.
Give me the ball. Well, Buster did that. And Greg Johnson was like, well, here.
Yeah.
Go ahead. I don't know where it's going to go. I don't know what's going to happen next, but yeah, at a minimum, you ignite not just, and this is why I don't really buy into the whole it's a PR stunt thing. Yes, it ignites the fan base, but I wonder if all of you can hear and feel how it has ignited the actual organization. The actual players, the former players, the current players, the marketing people, the concession stands, like, my that. God,
yeah.
Everybody's ignited.
And we've heard from various sources inside the building of a general discontent with the direction. And you'd mentioned this before about, pictures about glory days and past accomplishments coming down off of walls and a general lightweight scrubbing of the successes and of the past. And that's always a tough one where you inherit something that's been very, very good, and you want to make your own way. But sometimes when you make your own way, you do it by trying to get rid of the past. And that's a little bit of an insecurity, in my opinion. And so now you bring in a guy from the past, a hero from the past, a guy who's won 3 rings and is one of the best drafted players of all time. So I'm sure inside the building is a great, not only relief, but also a celebration of what they all remember, the glory days, right? Shout out Bruce Springsteen.
Absolutely. Okay. That's important, what you just said. I hope everybody heard that.
Well, I hope you heard it.
I heard it. That's why I'm spotlighting it.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
There's no game on, so you're actually listening.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Oh, it's early in the week.
It is early. Got some WNBA playoffs coming on.
Did everybody hear what Dan Dibley just said? I actually think, and my bad for doing an entire baseball season without bringing up what I actually think is the most important thing, the most important flaw in what Farhan Zaidi was doing through all of it. I know what everybody's going to, he couldn't land a big fish, and he was cheap, and he was a nerd, and okay, fine, whatever. Luciano can't play short. All fair things. The most important thing that you need to take away from the Farhan Zaidi era was his insecurity. You just said the word. And I think it is the epicenter of everything that happened around it. Farhan Zaidi, what do we know? He's literally removing pictures from the walls, like you just brought up. Pictures from the past, because he felt threatened by the 3 World Series championships that happened before his arrival. Is it because he wanted credit? I don't really feel it was that he wanted credit. I think it's a little bit more intricate than that. I think he wanted his way to be right. And he was very, very stubborn with that. Therefore, everything that was happening around him would sort of force a certain behavior that wasn't often the right thing to do. If I could sit here with Farhan Zaidi today, I'd say this directly to his face. I wish you could have walked a little bit more confidently into what you were doing. And what I mean by that is work with the past and work with the future as opposed to being so stubborn about Tuesday. Tuesday, we're sending Matos down because we're facing a right-hander and we need Trenton Brooks. Like, dude, like, you know what I mean? Stop trying to prove that you're right with every single little move, because a lot of times you were and a lot of times you weren't, but that's just not the way to do it. And I think that he sort of stumbled into that at times, and that affected all of these decisions and the morale and everything around him and the way the former players talked about him and the way the veteran players felt about him, all of that stuff. I think it all comes from his insecurity. He had rabbit ears. I knew this. You know, if there's anybody on radio or TV in town that was like, man, I hope my message gets to Farhan. He heard you.
Yeah.
I promise you, he heard you. He knew everything that was written. He knew everything that was said. And then he went out and he tried to prove those people wrong. And I've learned this lesson in my life too. That's just not the way to do it. It doesn't work. It doesn't help.
Unless you have unmitigated success, and that's the only way that you can go about making that approach work. Because if not, then the people who you alienate, the people who you ostracize on the inside are going to be more likely to turn against you, because you are ultimately the outsider. And when you start to scrub some of the memories and you start to disrespect some of the greatness that has taken place before you, and you come in with an approach of, this is the new way, it's my way, and it's going to work. And when it ceases to work and you start to have a real struggle and you don't have the same level of success, then you're not going to have as many people standing up next to you or standing up behind you saying, no, this is the guy, it's going to work, give him more time, put your faith in him. And that's just one way to go about it, and it's a way that's not going to probably work unless you are really, really successful.
Let's go to Marlon in Concord. Hi, Marlon. Thanks for calling. What's up? Marlon, you there?
Yes.
Yeah, Marlon. Hey,
oh, man, that was a buzzer beater. We were about to hang the freak up on you.
No, I was shopping at Safeway, man. Sorry.
We'll see you in the aisles. Yeah, exactly. What are you buying right now?
Oh, man, stuff for the kids, just bread, milk, all that stuff.
Bread, milk.
I usually wouldn't buy for myself.
Cheese, eggs.
There you go.
Yeah.
All that stuff.
Oh, yeah, no doubt.
I love bread.
Hey guys,
big fan.
Really, yeah, I hear that in the commercial. But, hey, I'm calling in because I feel like, people are really piling the dirt on Farhan, and I understand why. But, I think first off, he had the Dodgers cologne on him, so I don't think he and Gabe were ever really fully accepted. But what you just said before you answered the call, I think it does show a lack of confidence. You don't come in and take anything down because things were there before you arrived. But I also think that people like to kind of call the Giants fan base a bit of homers. They you got a lot of fans starting in 2010, and I think that people just couldn't let go of Bochy. They could not let go of that, and that analytics are sort of the wave of the future. So it was funny you mentioned earlier your son doesn't quite have a favorite baseball player yet.
Yep.
And maybe because there hasn't been anybody good for a while. But I do think that the future is less of Bochy and a little bit more of what a Farhan could be. But Farhan wasn't that guy. And the last point I want to make is them not landing the big fish. That was the kind of the things that are really on top of mind. But I think that it was a blessing they didn't get Correa and waste a lot of money there. And I do think that the having Buster on the staff is really going to hopefully land those bigger players, especially now that Chapman decided to stay. I do think that if they would have had another 100-plus season, maybe fans felt different. But anyways, hopefully the Giants will be successful, and thanks for taking my call.
Marlon, thanks. That's a good call, and enjoy Safeway. I hope you go home with a lot of good stuff to eat for the kids.
No doubt. Make sure you get the app and clip those coupons for extra savings.
The digital deals, man, they just poof right there at checkout. It's amazing. But anyway, I will say this really quick. It's like anything else in life. Timing is everything. And I'm not saying that you would have liked Farhan if it had been a different scenario. But here's what I will say. This is just like anything else in life. Farhan followed a dynasty. Buster is following Farhan. So who's getting sort of a different landing spot? Like anytime you follow a legend, and whether this is fair or not, Farhan felt like he was following Bochy, even though they're in completely different roles. It felt like he fired Bochy. He didn't. I promise you, he didn't. Did Bochy want to go? Maybe a little bit.
No, it was forced out.
Maybe not. But was he forced out by Farhan? I'd argue no. They knew he was leaving the second they hired Farhan. So there were many voices in the room on that, and it was situational, and the Giants were in a bad spot. They weren't a good baseball team at that time. So he's going to be held to a standard that was very difficult. I'm fine with that. This is Giants baseball. You got to live up to that, and he didn't. But I keep stuff like that in mind. Like, what's your starting point?
Of course.
Well, your starting point was we're changing to a whole new direction, even though this was a direction that was wildly successful and all of us loved it more than anything in all of life in terms of baseball. And now Buster Posey is Buster. He's literally the face of all that great stuff that happened before, and he's coming in to replace someone who was widely disliked. So Buster's leash is going to be incredibly long. Someone said to me today at the press conference, I'm pretty sure there's never going to be a hashtag fire Buster. No matter what happens.
I wouldn't go that far.
I would.
Well,
there's no way any real Giants fan would even let their fingers type that.
Well, if they have 3 bad years, worse years, years that make look like a genius, if the Buster Posey moves do not do anything and this team has 3 more years of this, if not a little bit worse, I don't know if Fire Buster will be a hashtag, but there will be some movement, and I don't think that he's going to get 10 or 15 years no matter what.
No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying he's going to get respect no matter what.
Yes,
it's Buster Posey.
We've seen some other legends be forced out or have their legacy disparaged a little bit over the time when they went into the front office.
That's an interesting thought. Let's explore that a little bit more. You're listening to 95.7 The Game, KGMZ FM and HD1 San Francisco and Odyssey Sports Station, always live on the free Odyssey app, Twitch and YouTube, powered by First NorCal Credit Union. For a low-rate auto loan, apply online or just ask for First NorCal financing at the dealer. Phone line's wide open for you at 888-957-9570. If you want to talk out anything with Farhan gone, Buster on the way in, we'll play a little bit more of the sound for you. Also, a little bit later this hour, before we get out of here, there are massive trade rumors swirling in the NFL, and I know that we'd like to get to that at one point. But tell me more about what you just said. We've seen legends get to the point where they've kind of been forced out before. Who are you thinking of?
Well, John Elway is one. I think when he was with the Broncos and he won a couple of Super Bowls and then he went to the front office and it didn't work out quite as well. And so after a certain amount of time, it was clear that they needed to go in a different direction. And so out he went. And I don't know if he was fired, but you have situations where legends take jobs and it doesn't really work out. Magic Johnson with the Lakers is another one.
But I at no point am I saying that that Buster Posey is just going to have this job for as long as he wants or for the rest of his life or anything like that. I'm simply saying that if it doesn't go well, the drumbeat for him to leave is going to sound way different than this one.
Oh, for sure.
And that was his only point. He goes, no matter how this goes, there will never be a firebuster hashtag. There won't be. He's Buster Posey. I'm not saying there should be.
Right. Well, whatever you want to qualify it as, hashtag or drumbeat, if he doesn't do well, if he struggles and they don't do well, and it's pretty clear that he's not cut out for the job, well, then they're going to have to make a decision. And as a part owner, he has a little bit more leash than somebody who isn't a part owner,
for sure. Of course. There's also this, 415 just texted this in on the Comcast business text line, and I think that this is an interesting comment because this comment was made to me at the press conference as well by somebody who is a, let's just say an interesting voice. 415 writes, after a stint at Pobo, Buster will likely replace Melvin at skipper. Now, I have no idea. And we asked even Kane that because Matt Kane said, I see him as a manager someday. He goes, but this is sort of backwards. You usually don't go from president of baseball operations to the manager of the team. That's pretty odd. I'll just tell you that while I was sitting there watching Buster, somebody who is close to the organization leans forward and goes, you're looking at the next manager of the Giants.
Wow.
It's just an opinion. It's not somebody in the position to make that call at all. But, I don't know to what level they were kind of kidding or throwing out a prediction or whatever. But far be it from me to say that that's off the table.
Of course.
I'm already surprised enough that this happened this quickly.
I think that he is more suited to that job than he is to this job. If you want to just look at it in a vacuum, Buster Posey as a manager of a baseball team versus the president of baseball ops, his skills that he has right now are far, far more suited to being a manager than they are to being the president of baseball ops. Having been a catcher, having played at the highest level, won 3 World Series. We know that catchers are really good managers. In general, I think a third of the managers in baseball right now are former catchers.
Is it really a third?
I'd have to do the math specifically, but...
By the way, baseball managers to me are just like the numbers of the players here in town. Like, I don't even know how many managers in baseball I could name, but go ahead.
Well, you've got Stephen Vogt,
right,
who is a former catcher. You've got
Boch.
And you
got Bomel.
Right. That's 3 right there. Stephen Vogt.
That you can't name people twice. That doesn't work.
Yeah.
Okay.
AJ Hinch.
Okay.
He's a former catcher.
I didn't even who's he manage? I do not know managers.
He look up to the left. He's a manager of the
ABC News is
the
on.
Tigers, I think.
Oh, okay.
If I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. I won't be able to fact check you at all.
Does Scott Service still have a job? Or no, he lost his job this year.
David Ross
but he's a catcher.
Ross was a catcher, right? Right? And he was managing the Cubs. Is he still managing the Cubs? Not managing the Cubs anymore, right? He went down?
No, Craig Counsell now is the Cubs
Craig
manager.
Counsell was an infielder. He's an infielder.
Yep.
Yeah. I don't know.
That's pretty good.
Feels like
so
this
far.
conversation hit a wall.
Little bit of a wall. Bud Black, no. Was Mike Schilt a catcher?
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't either. I'm kind of with you on managers. It's like sometimes I have to look. It's like, oh my God. That guy's a manager?
If you just said, how many managers could I name along with their team, I'd set the over-under at 5.5. I honestly don't know. Dave Roberts is still managing the Dodgers. I know that. Bomel's managing the Giants. We got Kotze managing the, I'm not sure what we're supposed to call them, A's.
I know, right?
Should we call them, remember, what did Washington, didn't they call themselves the Washington football team for a little while? Yeah. Should we just call them that? The Sacramento baseball team?
Well, that's what they're calling the Utah Hockey Club, if I'm not mistaken. With the team that moved from Phoenix. The Phoenix Coyotes, are now the Utah Hockey Club.
Okay, yes. Great. Anyway, you get my point.
Yeah.
I don't know any of the managers.
And you get my point.
Yeah.
You mentioned something earlier about timing, and I do think that that's a big thing in all of this as far as when you inherit a job. And I was thinking about the Golden State Warriors and Steve Kerr. And so I went back and tried to refresh my memory on Steve Kerr and what he inherited, because the year before he got the gig, they went 51-31 under hand down, man down, Mark Jackson.
Mama.
Went to the playoffs, lost in 7 to the Clippers.
Yep.
The roster, you had Harrison Barnes in his second year. You had Steph Curry, who was at the time, he was 25 years old.
He's a good player.
Averaged 24 a game that year.
I like the pick.
I do too. You had a 23-year-old Klay Thompson averaging 18.
Mm-hmm.
David Lee averaged 18. And you had just picked up a guy who would go on to be NBA Finals MVP a year later, Andre Iguodala. You had Barnes and Bogut and Draymond Green. And then you had such veterans as Jermaine O'Neal. And you had Jordan Crawford, a great player off the bench. Steve Kerr inherited quite a team. Now, a team that hadn't yet done it.
And, they were young.
And Steph Curry had bad ankles, and we didn't yet know how impactful Draymond Green would be. But it just made me think about timing. Buster Posey following Farhan Zaidi much easier than following Brian Sabian.
Absolutely. It's a sight for sore eyes. It's a sound for sore ears. It's everything that everybody wants to hear and see right now. So, of course, there's going to be a huge runway for Buster. But back to the manager idea, this is interesting. So this was the question that I asked him. I asked him, when did you know that a day-to-day operations role was something that you wanted to do? You moved the family here a couple of years ago. Was it then, or was this more of a recent development? This is the way that he kind of answered that question.
The move back honestly had nothing to do with what my future might look like with the Giants, which I think for us makes it all the more special, because it truly was a move back because we enjoy this area and we enjoy the friends that we've made in this area. And I think just over the last few weeks, months, we've been kind of talking through some different scenarios, and it's where we landed.
So here's why I play that right now. If I believe Buster, he will tell this story as something that came together very recently. So he just started thinking about this. He looked at the state of the Giants and thought, hey, I can do this. Well, then what would stop him in 3 years, 5 years? Hell, in 10 years, he won't even be 50 yet. Who knows what the situation's going to be, what it's going to look like. Is Bomel retiring? Is Bomel long gone? I don't know what the situation will be. And could Buster look at Kristen as the kids get older and say, hey, now I'm thinking about this. I'd like every 6 days to get on a plane and go to Cleveland and Chicago. And she might be like, great. So I don't know. Yeah, I would argue if we're here, everything's on the table.
For sure. And I would think that, considering how young he is, 37, and how young his kids are, I think the older two are 10, 11, and the younger two are more in that 4 or 5 range. I would bet that, based on what I know about Buster, or at least what I think I know as a family man, that he'd want to stick around. And when you're the president of baseball operations, there is some travel, but it's not the same amount of travel as you get when you are a major league skipper and you're in Arizona for a month and then you're gone 81 times a year.
Looks like the Twins right now are 13.
Okay.
Or about to turn 13. And the adopted girls, remember this had happened right before COVID and were cited as the reason why he sat that season out. So they were adopted in 2020. And I think that they had recently been born. So they are probably
in that 4 or 5 range. Yeah. So I was about right. And I haven't seen him out and about in my circles that I travel in So I thought that the older pair might be in the teenage years beyond the youth sports realm, which is where I would see him occasionally in the past. But if you got a couple of kids who are 4 and 5 and you like your kids, I'm assuming he likes his kids. Seems like he likes his wife too. He referred to her a few times today.
Yep.
Managing for me seems a good 10 years away still. Maybe, but I could be wrong.
But again, or never. But again, by then, 10 years from now, guess what Buster will be? Still a very young manager.
Not even 50.
47 years old. Isn't that about what Shanahan is now? Isn't that about what he is? Shanahan looks like those Super Bowls have aged him a little bit, but isn't that about what he is? How old's Kyle? He's not 50
45.
Yet.
No, I don't think he's even close.
Only 45?
He'll be 45 in December.
Wow.
Quietly, my list of managers who have caught is growing as I'm learning about all the managers in Major League Baseball.
Yeah.
The Orioles skipper Brandon Hyde, catcher. Stephen Vogt, catcher. AJ Hinch, catcher.
Okay,
Matt Quattrero, Kansas City Royals, catcher.
You've literally said Stephen Vogt 4 times.
I started the list over.
You can't just keep saying Stephen Vogt.
I've started
AJ
over.
Hinch twice.
I believe in Stephen Vogt. Yeah, but we got it already.
He's a catcher. That. I don't know if you heard that.
Oh, Bob Melvin. Don't forget him.
I'm not there yet. My point was that I thought that there were 8 managers who were catchers, and I will start over. And when I get to 8, I'm going to walk all 3 of you off because I was right.
Not 5, not 6. It's not true. 7. How many baseball teams are there?
30 teams.
Okay.
And I said a 4th.
You said a 3rd. Check the
tape.
I
did not say a 3rd.
You did.
I said at least 8.
You said a 3rd. You said a 3rd of the league.
Grandy, go to the tape. It was at about 5 straight up.
Do I have to?
No,
you don't. I'm going to get to 8.
Mark me down for fading the Dibbers, though. I'm fading the Dibbers on this one for sure.
You don't even know these guys. Brandon Hyde, Stephen Vogt, AJ Hinch, Matt Quattrero.
That's the 5th time you said Stephen Vogt.
I started over.
Who's the manager of the Orioles? What?
Matt Quattrero.
No, the first one. You keep saying Brandon Hyde. Brandon Hyde?
He's like manager of the Orioles.
I have no clue who that is.
Former catcher.
The other problem here is you could just be making up names. Manager of the Twins, Bob Jablonski. There's him.
Rocco Baldelli, not a catcher.
Manager of the Pirates, Jim Sablupti.
Yankees, Aaron Boone, not a catcher. Mark Kotze, not a catcher.
Manager of the Royals, Joe Blakaduki.
Seattle Mariners.
Don't forget him.
Seattle Mariners.
What about him?
Dan Wilson. You know what position he played, Smarty Pants?
Relief pitcher.
He was in the squad. I'm at 5. Dan Wilson, 5. Bruce Bochy, 6.
Was he a part of Wilson Phillips?
I'm only in the American League, and I've already gotten to 6.
I can confirm you said a 3rd of the league's managers for
catchers. The Dibbers.
I only need 4 more.
You're not going to get
Torey Lavulo.
You're just naming names.
These are actual managers.
I know.
Torey Lavulo, not a catcher. I need 4 more.
You sound like you're
Brian
doing
Snitker?
The baseball version of the Maury Povich show right now.
Did Snitker ever catch?
Not a catcher. Oh!
Hold on. Let me find Snitker.
Stop it. I'm going to take a call while you find catchers.
Did Snitker ever catch?
Let's go to GPD in Hayward. What's up, Grandpa Daddy?
Hey, what's up? Go, Sakina.
Say it. Say it.
Sakina.
Say it.
Sakina, say it. Say it, Sakina. Oh, she can't.
Oh,
she was going to say,
damn.
Hi, Mark and Grandpa Dibbies. That was her cue.
She wasn't going to say it.
A lot of pressure.
I know. I just picked her up from school. She's freaking falling asleep in the backseat.
Hey, GPD, we got to give you 10 more seconds because Ryan Vogelsong just called. But go ahead.
I just want to know, Dibbers, why are you the pessimist? I mean, the pessimist, and Mark is the optimist. Can we just enjoy this moment and just say Buster Posey is going to do a great job, baby? And let's go, Giants! Dibs, don't be the pessimist.
Grandpa Daddy, I have not been pessimistic at all. I like the hire. I like the player.
I like the pick.
I love the hire. I'm not being pessimistic at all. I don't know where that's coming from.
Why have you been ripping Buster Posey all day?
There you go.
What's the matter with you?
There you go.
All right, let's go to the River Islands guest line.
I'm running out of catchers who manage.
Ryan Vogelsong is with us on the show and excited to have him. Hey, Vogie, what's up?
What's going on, guys? Hey, I got to apologize. I thought this interview was supposed to be for tomorrow night. I was at Riders baseball practice, so I have to apologize for being not where I was supposed to be when I was supposed to be there.
Buddy, you're such a gem. Like it's all good, and the fact that you called in anyway when you could is great. And how did baseball practice go?
Yeah, we're getting there, man. We're going to be all right. Slowly but surely, it's process, right?
Does your team need a new? Yeah, Dibs.
Vogie, I don't know why these people are so down on me. You know what, Vogie? I'll say it. Buster Posey, he's overrated. There, are you happy?
Oh, jeez. All right, I'm probably not gonna finish the interview now.
No, Vogie, I'm not pessimistic. I'm actually excited about this. The turning of the page. My only thing is we don't really know if he's going to be great. We hope he's going to be great. We think he's going to be great. I'm going to wait and see a little bit, Vogie. That's all.
Hey, my question is, what hasn't he not been great at so far?
What about that, Dibbers?
Hitting left-handed.
You don't know that.
Maybe he is. Have we ever seen him? I'm sure if he tried, he's probably great at it.
He's probably great at it. He's been great at everything, and he is a forever Giant. And we were talking about this yesterday. He's on the Rushmore of favorite Giants and great Giants. And so, yeah, there's no way anybody could be pessimistic. I'm super stoked, but what do you think is going to be the one thing that he's going to be just super great at?
Man, listen, I obviously have known him for quite a while now and have a really good relationship with him off the field as well as we had on. He's just a solid person, and he's just talented, and he's smart. I think he's one of those guys that he is going to excel at anything that he puts his toe in the water with. And I think this is a great position for him to be in. I think it's going to come with its challenges. It's going to, but I think he's going to crush it. Like if something's tough for him, he's going to figure out how to get it done. I mean, it's what he's done his whole life. So I'm not saying this is going to be smooth sailing all the way through. Listen, hopefully it is. Hopefully the transition is great and he nails it and hits the ground running. But there's going to be some bumps in the road just like there is with anything in life. But I think he's going to, from his playing days and, raising a family, like he gets it. Sometimes there's a wall in front of you. You figure out how to go through it, around it, or over it. So I think that he's going to crush it like he does everything else.
Ryan, have you talked to him? And if so, how did that go?
Yeah, I talked to him last night for about 30 minutes, and I just wanted him to hear me say congratulations in person on the phone and not through a text message. And I told him that. I said, hey, I could have texted you, but I'm not a big fan of text messaging because the emotion doesn't come through. So I just told him, I said, hey, I wanted you to hear my voice and how happy I am for you and excited. And, we talked a little bit and talked about, some stuff that's in front of him and, talked about some things in the system right now that I saw when, traveling around the minor leagues this year. And we had a great conversation. We talked about our kids. We talked about our wives. It was a very friend-related conversation and a little bit of work.
Okay, and in that little bit of work part, did we discuss an expanded role for Ryan Vogelsong?
We did not. I just told him that I've always had his back. I will always have his back, and that I am on his call anytime he needs me, any time of day, anytime, anywhere. When he needs questions or just needs to talk or vent or whatever, that I'm here for him and got his back in every aspect.
When you look at the job that he is going to undertake, and a lot of it comes from the farm, obviously, is trying to get the youngsters to be built up to be major leaguers. How big is the task ahead to try to restore the farm system to be one of the top ones in baseball?
Yeah, it's going to take some work, and we talked about that. This is going to, there's some work involved here. We need to get better at some things. and he understands that. And we talked about that last night. It's not out of the realm that it could come very, very quickly, but we got some work to do. And I think that the leader that I know he is going to make the transition and that go exceedingly quick because he's going to lead. And he's going to demand what he wants Giants baseball to, he knows it's supposed to look like, and what he feels it's supposed to look like, and what he knows it's supposed to look like. So that's why I'm very confident that he's going to be really good at this, because he knows what he wants his product to be.
Ryan Vogelsong is with us here on Willard and Dibbs, 95.7 The Game. So, Vogie, this is interesting when you're talking about traveling around and seeing things within the organization and then talking that out with Buster last night. I wonder if you could expand on that a little bit for our audience. What do you see that needs to change? What are some of those challenges?
I think first and foremost, like we just, as an organization, I think we just have to get back to being a little bit more fundamentally sound and just be a little bit more detail oriented in the small things. I think sometimes, and it's not just us, this is everybody. And I deal with this when I'm coaching my son's kids too. Like, we want everything super fast and we see the big picture and lose sight of the small things sometimes. Right. So I think we just got to refocus on executing some of the small fundamental things a little bit better. And when you can do that, the big things come into play. So I think that's the number one thing. I do like what I saw from our pitchers this summer traveling around. I feel like we're really starting to understand the importance of pitching again and not throwing, and executing pitches and changing speeds and understanding what swings look like, and not just trying to throw the ball as hard as we can all the time and throw the nastiest slider we can all the time. So I really like the direction that our pitching's going in on the minor league level. And you put those things together and it starts sounding like championship baseball, right?
Is that something that's organizational in terms of philosophy? Not only the kind of pitcher you want to bring into the organization, but also how to pitch? Is that something that will be underneath Buster Posey's purview and something that will matriculate all the way down to the lowest levels?
I can't tell you what he is going to have his grasp on. We did not get into that. But I do know that Buster is, like I said, he's super smart, and I do know that Buster knows he's going to have to surround himself with some people. And I'm sure if that's something that he feels like he needs to delegate a little bit, then he will. But to your first question, I will say that when we were in the previous coaching staff and some of the pitching direction we had then, it was much different than it is now. It was more velocity-based, spin rates, throwing your best pitch as many times as you could. And I think we lost some of the pitchability. And when Bo Mel and Brian came in, it was one thing that they preached to a lot to us in spring training and to the guys about pitchability again, and being able to read swings and making adjustments on your own without staring at the iPad. And that doesn't mean that the iPad is not valuable and doesn't have great information, but you don't have an iPad when you're pitching in the game on the mound with you. So there is some experience and lessons learned in being able to see what a pitch is doing with your eyes and not have to look at an iPad all the time. So that's where the transition from the pitching philosophies did change a little bit, because the prior regime, that was their philosophy. So, and listen, that's the one thing I've always said. If you have a philosophy and you believe in it, you have to go to battle with what you believe in, because if it doesn't work out, you have to look yourself in the mirror and say, I did it the way I thought it was right. So if it doesn't work, you can be okay with yourself, right? So the new regime comes in and pitching philosophy has gone back a little bit, and not getting away from what everyone else is doing, but like I said, more pitchability, more understanding swings, more executing pitches, more being a pitcher that can read what he sees with his eyes and not having to look at the data all the time.
Ryan Vogelsong with us on 95.7 The Game. Vogie, what does this announcement yesterday do for the morale of the entire organization?
I think it should shoot it through the roof, to be honest. But my relationship with Buster is different than most. I mean, there's probably 50 or so people that he was in that locker room with that, maybe less that saw him a little bit differently than the rest of the people. So I'm probably have a little bit more excitement, and some of our former teammates probably have a little bit more excitement because we know the quality that we're going to see again. And, but I think if you're just a normal fan and you're a Giants fan, I think you should be super excited that he wants to make this thing good, right? He's not just sitting on the sideline, not doing anything about it. He cares about the Giants. He's a Giant. He loves the Giants organization, and he wants to see the Giants get back to where this organization should be. And I think that should make everyone extremely happy.
And I think people are excited about the idea of more of you guys coming back around and getting at that feel that we had, 10 years ago when you won the last World Series. And I'm also hoping that it becomes more of a balance between analytics and the old school humanity of baseball. Do you think that Buster will lean more toward the old school approach as opposed to the previous regime and the new school analytics approach?
Well, I'll tell you this. Bob Melvin and his staff have done a tremendous job in both of those aspects. He has been very, very good and very open about former players coming back and being in the clubhouse, being on the field before the game, coming to spring training. And not just guys like myself that obviously have a role in the organization. He loves it when guys that played for the Giants come back and want to be on the field for batting practice and talk to guys. He has told me all the time, many times, like, I want you here as much as you can be. And I know he's reiterated that to a lot of guys. So that is already in play. And the second part of the question is that aspect is already in play as well. And Bo Mel has preached this too. Like, we can't get one-sided in this game. We can't be all baseball and we can't be all analytical. We have to mesh the two together and be the best we can be at both sides of it. So to answer your question, I think Buster probably, without putting words in his mouth, just the little conversations we had, he believes in all of that. And it's already being put in place by Bo Mel and his staff. So we're already heading in the right track. But I do know this. Buster Posey wants baseball players. He wants guys that want to get on the field and get after it. And I think you can see why Matt Chapman got signed to a long-term extension, because that's what Matt Chapman is. And I know Buster loves baseball players like that. So to answer your question, I think he's going to try and mesh the two together as best we can. The best he can, to put the guys on the field that are going to play baseball and execute what he believes is Giants baseball.
Vogie, this is not obviously your role, but I would love your input. Like, you're in the process. The team is in the process of building and making changes. There's some obvious holes on the field, whether it's shortstop, maybe one outfield spot. We'll see. But in a general sense, what do you think is the right way for this particular group to sort of build whatever it needs to build? Free agency, trade, farm system? What's the priority?
Oh, man. You're throwing some toughies at me tonight, boys.
Hey, man.
I just got done with like 14, 15-year-olds at practice.
I know.
I wasn't really prepared for these tough questions, but hey, I'll take it.
We had an hour to think of some really hard ones to come at you.
That's a great counterpoint right there.
And, hey, and because I didn't call on time, I'm absolutely okay with it. So, listen, I wish I had the perfect answer for you on that, and I'm not sure I do. because I myself don't know what the best way to do it is. I think we have to be excited about what productivity we did get from some of our younger guys this year. I think that we have to be excited about that. I think that we have to be excited that we have Matt Chapman in an extension, and we have a leader in the clubhouse and the field, and the way he plays on the field is a direct, exactly what we want to see players play like. And he is a great example for the young guys. As far as through trades and free agency, I think you, just like the analytics in baseball, like I think you have to mesh all these together. I don't think you can say we're throwing all of our eggs in one basket and this is the direction we're going to go. I think there has to be a blend. You have to do you have to do a little bit in free agency. You probably have to try and do some trades, and we got to continue to have our farm system produce players at the major league level. I think that's the most truthful answer I can give you.
That's a fair one. Absolutely. Bogey, before you go, especially as someone who threw to him, we're talking so much about Buster Posey and leadership. Can you give us a moment that's just like a memory of yours or a moment that he helped you? Like Buster, the leader, is there something that pops in your mind when you think back to that in your playing days together?
Yeah, I mean, there's a couple, and I'll make them quick because I don't know how much time we have. But the first one is, a lot of people ask me this all the time, and it's, what did y'all talk about when he came to the mound? And, people think that we would tell a joke or whatever. Well, you guys know, watch me pitch. Like, I wasn't to come out and tell me a joke guy, right? I think some guys, he might have come out there and tried to make them laugh to relax a little bit, but he obviously knew that that wasn't my thing. And so for me, a lot of the times he would come out and he would just like, hey, we're going to slow the game down. You're going to walk around. I'm going to walk back as slow as I can. You're going to take a lap around behind the mound. Get yourself relocked in, and we're just going to slow everything down. And once you get going, we'll start speeding back up. So he was just very good about knowing every guy and what made those guys tick when stuff started hitting the fan. So, and then the other one was, we were playing the Twins in interleague in 2014 interleague against the Twins. And he was banged up. Bad hamstring, bad back. I think his knee was barking a little bit because he took a foul tip. And obviously I never talked to guys before the game. And once I went on the field, no one definitely talked to me. He didn't even talk to me once I got on the field. Rags and Guardy didn't even talk to me once I went out to warm up. So I'm down in the left field corner stretching, and he came walking out there, and he kept walking towards me. And I'm like, what's going on? Something's up tonight, because he never does this. So he came over to me, he goes, hey, I know you don't want to talk to me, but I have to tell you something. And I go, what's up? And he's like, I feel really bad. I've been in the training room for the last 48 hours just trying to get myself ready to play this game tonight. And he goes, I have not had a chance to look at these hitters at all. And he's like, but the only reason I did that is because I know that you prepare so well. So I could get myself ready to play tonight because I know that you've taken care of what you need to do. And he goes, just tell me what you got. So in about as fast as I could, in 2.5 minutes, I went through the entire lineup, told him exactly what I wanted to do to every single guy. And I said, hey, if they pinch hit for somebody, just call timeout and come out, and I'll tell you what we're going to do to them. Guys, I didn't shake him off the entire night. And I threw 7 shutout innings that night, and I didn't shake my head one time. He didn't miss one pitch for 7 innings.
Man.
So that just tells you what kind of baseball intelligence we're working with, and why that should also make us excited. Because he's smart to begin with, but he is baseball smart. He is person smart. He's relationship smart. Like, he just has all the factors, guys, that should make everyone extremely excited that this thing is going to go really well. So that's my little how cool Buster Posey is moment.
That's a pretty cool story.
You're worth the wait, Ryan.
Oh, well, I appreciate that. And then once again, I'm going to apologize.
No.
I've gotten a lot of requests to talk about Buster over the last 24 hours, and I read the text and I thought it said for tomorrow. So once again, I'm going to apologize, and I'm just glad that it worked out that I could get on tonight with y'all.
You are all good, and you are welcome anytime, and we thank you so much for doing it.
No problem. Always a pleasure, boys. Always a pleasure.
Yep. I hope we do it again soon.
Yep.
All right. Thanks so much.
You got it.
All right. That's Vogie. And by the way,
that's a pretty cool story.
I'll only share this just because of what took place. Like next time he comes on, ask him to share the story of him in a cab in Detroit during the World Series in 2012. From the year that I was blessed with the opportunity to host the Inside Giant Moments podcast in the middle of COVID, when we were just sitting at home recording things with different Giants. That man right there, that is the best storyteller of the last 20 years of Giants baseball. Ryan Vogelsong.
That's probably his 14th best story that he can tell. That story was awesome.
Correct. He is, well, you just heard it.
Yeah.
He's so great. He's so great. Lucas, you could book him any day, and I don't care what hour he comes on. He's fantastic.
That was a great story. Buster, 48 hours in the training room, didn't do his homework. Vogie gives him a 2.5-minute speed recap. Buster doesn't miss a pitch.
If you said go over the last 20 years of Giants baseball, pick one guy you want to have a beer with, and remove the star factor like Bonds, Buster,
Lincecum,
whatever. Yeah. Remove that. Just who do you want to have a beer with? There's my pick.
That's your guy.
Vogie.
Okay.
Yep.
Good, solid dude.
Oh, my goodness.
Comes in cracking me for being a pessimist. I'm not even being pessimistic today, Grandpa Daddy.
That was pretty funny.
That was very funny. Had me on my heels.
We're sponsored by Safeway. Plenty of time for you to weigh in. 888-957-9570. But in addition to Buster and Giants, we will squeeze in a little bit about the hot trade rumor in the NFL. That's next on Willard and Dibs.
Head to Safeway this week for these digital deals for members. Honeycrisp or Envy.
Now, back to
Will and Dibby
on 95.7 The Game.
Quite a day.
Yeah. Kaner,
quite a day. Kaner and Vogie.
Posey.
Buster.
And you there in the flesh.
Yeah, I got to go do the darn thing.
And an early question, too. The third questioner.
I caught the eye.
Number 3.
I caught the eye of the man in charge early.
Well, you and I talked yesterday about your strategy, and I thought, you'd probably be about 10th or 11th because you're smart and respectful, and normally you let the beat people go, the everyday folks go. You used to be one of them, so you have gravitas. You are well respected, and I was listening on 95.7 The Game on the drive in, and I heard, let's go over to the right side, and Mark. And I thought, Mark?
Yeah.
Ibanez?
Mark Pavlovich?
Yeah.
Mark Baggerly?
Then I heard, I was wondering at first, I'm like, is this our Mark? And then I heard, just a question.
No, hey, Buster.
I heard that. I'm like, it's my guy.
Yeah, no, Sluss.
That's my quarterback.
Sluss made it very clear. She caught the eyes, and she was sitting front and center, and she's like, I got this. I'm a Jung Hoo lead this.
Yep.
I'm going to be the lead off. And everybody's like, yes, of course.
Former president of the Baseball Writers Association of America.
You do that.
The grand dame of baseball writers.
Pavlovich was waiting a little bit back right. I think he wanted to take some things in. I was sitting next to Bags. Bags was same thing, was on Twitter and just, I think, was waiting for some newsy items. And so then it went over to Janie. And then, I was ready.
You saw
I was
an
ready.
opening.
Yeah. I didn't think I'd be batting third, but that's the way it fell.
And you delivered. It's a good, solid question and a good, solid answer.
We had a few questions to ask, and we didn't get to all of them, but that's okay. There are years to come. It's not the end of the big day, though. First of all, I'm told that you have a victory lap you want to go on.
Yeah, and I don't want to make too big a deal out of it, but I rule, and all you fools drool.
Well, hold that. That's a good tease.
Okay.
I do also want to say, and you'll hate this, but I am going to use 10 seconds of our airtime to do something that I'm going to do in person here as soon as we leave here. But I am going to say happy 3-year to my lovely Christy. We've been dating for 3 years as of today.
Hate that. That's awesome.
So we are going straight to dinner from here.
Number 3.
Wanted to say that on the air.
That's so sweet.
Thinking about her all day, and I love you very much, and I'm on my way here in a few.
I'm slightly offended that you think that I wouldn't like it. You and I joke around a little bit about huggy, kiss.
You hate our relationship.
That's right, because I'm down on both of you. I spend the majority of my life with you, and I adore her.
You hate us.
So there you go.
Babe, I'm coming. That's right.
I do sometimes roll my eyes at the hand holding and the canoodling.
Might want to stay off Instagram in about 2 hours.
Dude.
There at MT Willard.
Yes.
At MT Willard. Stay off IG.
If I can just spend 10 seconds on your 10 seconds.
Debs. We're going to dinner.
The definition of adorbs is you two will take a picture, you post it, and then she'll repost your posting or vice versa.
Yep.
And it's just so adorable.
And then we'll comment on our own picture that's posted by somebody else.
On to the break of dawn. No, it's adorable, and I'm happy for both of you.
Anyway.
It's great.
Now we're ready for your victory lap.
I said earlier in the program, earlier this hour, that catchers are good managers, and it feels like a third of the league is managed by catchers.
Can we start with the fact that then you tried to walk back your own statement and change it to a fourth, and you got mad at me when I correctly said you said a third?
8 out of 30 is more than a fourth, but your point is well taken.
Yeah.
7.5 would be a fourth, and I just honestly thought that I said 8. And then you said, no, you said a third. And Grandy, I can confirm, you said a third. It's like, I
don't sound like that.
No, but it's
not at all.
And then Lucas, wrong, you're wrong, Gibbs is wrong, which is like the parrot of the show. He only jumps in when it's safe to jump in.
And I do sound like that.
He's the classic dog piler where somebody's down and there's 2 people on top and he'll come off the top rope. Well, I did my homework. Yeah. Turns out there are 12 current managers who are former catchers. And I won't run through the list because I've said Stephen Vogt so many times.
First of all, there's no way for us to fact check you because you're going to bring up a bunch of names that sound like you're reading off from the Elks Club roster.
You're sure you're not counting Stephen Vogt like 5 times?
Seriously, 5 times.
If I can. Brandon Hyde, Stephen Vogt, AJ Hinch, Matt Quattrero.
I don't know who Matt is.
Dan Wilson.
Yeah.
Dan Wilson. Kevin
Cash. Say him twice.
Bruce Bochy, John Schneider, Brian Snitker, Rob Thompson, Derek Shelton, and Bob Melvin.
Okay. That's
12.
Now, here's the thing.
12 out of 30. That's 60.
You think
40%.
You think you're going on a victory lap.
I just did.
I'm offended, but not as offended as the person who should be offended.
Vogie?
You literally spent the Ryan Vogelsong interview Googling major league managers and what position they played, as opposed to listening to Ryan. Don't worry, Dibs. You can go to YouTube or the Odyssey app to listen to the interview with Ryan Vogelsong whenever you're ready. Now that you're done Googling Major League Baseball managers and their positions.
First of all, it's Wikipedia that I used. Second of all,
that's probably not even real then.
This coming from a guy who, if there's any interesting sporting event on TV, is locked on that as I'm giving up sports opinion after sports opinion.
We are sports radio hosts.
Right.
I need to take the 4 minutes a night that you talk and actually find out what's going on in the world.
Our ability to multitask, yours and mine, is second to none. So I can listen to Vogie spin a yarn. I can listen to your 90-second question while also starting my victory lap.
I don't ask
have
90-second questions. I give 90-minute takes.
That's my fault.
Don't ask 90-second questions.
Anyway.
Padres are already up 2-0.
See, there you go.
Tatis. Home run. Hit it hard.
I'm looking forward to these baseball playoffs, even though the Giants aren't in it.
Yeah, whatever. Beat the Dodgers and wake me when it's over.
Yeah.
But anyway.
Fun stuff.
Yeah, we're knee deep in football, and Davante Adams both wants a trade, and apparently the Raiders want to trade him. That's basically what I got out of today. If you haven't followed kind of the tour of this over the last 48 hours, this is kind of how it went. Some website tweets out that Davante Adams may have played his last day with the Raiders, and Antonio Pierce freaking liked it. Now, quick aside, I don't care if Davante's going to get traded or not. I would like to pat myself on I want to take my own victory lap for when Antonio Pierce, I think, stuck his foot in his mouth and talked out of turn by suggesting that he would tell Tua Tagovailoa that he should retire. I don't care if that sounds nice or correct or healthy to any of you. It is not the place of an opposing head coach in the NFL to publicly state that another team's $50-some-odd million investment per year should leave the sport. Not his place. And he proved again this week that I don't care how rah-rah he is or how much you like the way he handles things, he ain't ready to be a head coach.
Agreed.
You're liking stuff on Instagram that's talking about your stars being traded? Not cool. But anyway, he did, and the follow-up has now been Davante Adams goes on with Kay Adams, no relation, and says, I have not heard any communication from the team whatsoever, which was clue number 8,000 that Davante and the Raiders ain't getting along. Since then, Mike Garafolo, he has requested a trade, and the Raiders, Adam Schefter, have followed up by publicly stating, at least to Schefter, yes, we are open to trades, and we would like at least a second-round draft pick. So
that's it?
At least, for starters.
Yeah.
They know they're not getting a one.
Well,
he's in his 30s. He's making $1 bajillion.
Pretty damn good.
He's very good. But anyway.
To your point, though, about the overvaluing of wide receivers, as we've seen through 4 weeks in the NFL, a lot of relative no-name receivers are doing just fine for their teams, and those teams are winning. So I don't know what the market will be. I don't know if you saw the other hot name today being thrown around, but a lot of talk about Trey Lance, and why doesn't Miami make a play for Trey Lance?
Oh, gosh.
And that's because Miami is desperate for a quarterback, and what they have is not good, and they're at the portion of the season where they're willing to go after anything.
I mean, then get someone who's played NFL football games before.
Josh Dobbs.
Josh Dobbs is an interesting answer.
Yep.
Ryan Tannehill's an interesting answer. I'd call the Steelers and freak out about Russell Wilson if I were the Miami Dolphins. Yep. And by the way, I know where people's minds go with Devontae if you're a 49ers fan is, hey, Ayuk for Devontae? I'd be shocked if that happened. I don't think the 49ers are as down on Brandon as the world is because of 4 sort of lackluster starts. 4 weeks ago, they signed him to $30 million a year. I don't think that their stance on that has widely changed. I don't think the red shorts did that. But anyway, I mean, it's an interesting, fun idea. I would much more predict that Devontae would end up with, like, say, the Buffalo Bills or the Pittsburgh Steelers. Those are teams that I think should call the Raiders and offer up what they want.
Maybe even Minnesota. Can you imagine that 1-2 punch?
Well, I mean, Jordan Addison, do they want to spend?
Right. Well, they suddenly are in a championship window.
I know, but now you're north of $60 million in your wide receiver room.
For a year.
And Jordan Addison. Now you stunt the growth of a young player.
I think that Devontae Adams, no matter who gets him, it's probably this year, and then he gets cut, and then you take a small cap hit, and Devontae has to go out there and get a new deal, no matter who acquires him, if the Raiders do trade him. But, man, that Raider thing, every time it looks like they might be getting something together and looking like they're going to be decent, something blows up in their face.
Greg Cosell on the show tomorrow. We're working on some big Giant stuff as well. Grandy, what are you doing?
If you missed the Buster Posey press conference from earlier today on Steiny and Goo, you'll get to hear it coming up next.
You get to hear it as well. Are you going to play Vogie so Dibs can hear the interview?
I heard every bit of it. How dare you?
The Posey presser's pretty long. I'm not sure we'll have time for that.
All right, we'll stick with that.
Well, 12.
Pay close attention to question number 3. You want to do it again tomorrow?
I'll get back to you.
All right. Well,
number 3.
I'll text you later.
Okay.
For Dibs, for Grandy, for Lucas, I'm Mark. Shoot your shot. That's all you got.
Xfinity here. How can we help?
Hi.